Hello everyone and welcome back to GPVWC Super League. This is the third round of the 2025 season and we're at Suzuka. We're back at the Formula One calendar, I suppose you could say, having taken a little bit of a detour to Turkey for the last round. But yet we're in Japan, the one and only figure 8 circuit on the calendar, which may help the drivers in terms of tyre wear, may even that out a little bit. But realistically, drivers come here expecting a roller coaster ride because it is that kind of circuit. Very much a track of two halves. The first half has those wavy wiggles that you see on the bottom of the track map on the right hand side. The top half is a bit more sweeping. You have a long straight, the longest straight on the track, where you're flat out from the spoon curve all the way through 130R and down to the heaviest braking zone, the Casio Triangle, and it should make for an excellent Grand Prix. My name is Caitlin Penny, and once again I'm being joined by the broadcast director Remco Zeeuw, but in the commentary box with me is Ed Hunter. Ed, we're in Japan.
Indeed we are. Well, I'm actually on holiday in Yorkshire, but for the purposes of this, yes, we are in Japan for our third round of the season, and it's a interesting sort of convergence point, isn't it? Because the man we're watching just in the background is the man to beat, isn't it? Jan Grankvist, reigning champion, has won the first two races in a row, and interestingly, we had sort of expected the likes of Tom Stevens, Yaltine to be the main challengers to him, but we saw in Istanbul it was the likes of Loic Mounier, Alessandro Maggio, Simon Frelick. In Melbourne we saw Alex Lahou was very strong as well. But it's all these unexpected newcomers that have started to really mix things up in Super League, which is great to see. Young talent, fresh blood coming into the fray and really starting to show what they can do under pressure at the highest level in a GPV that it has to offer. But as you say, absolutely. Suzuka, anyway, you carry on.
No, sorry, I think I interrupted because my internet cut out for a second, so I am sorry about that. But anyway, we're currently watching Jan Grankvist, as he said, championship leader who's won the first two races of the season and hopes to improve. This is a good track for him, Suzuka. I remember a couple of years ago here, he led much of the, well, he didn't lead much of the race. He was catching the leader coming into the latter stages and then unfortunately spun at the very last minute. I'm struggling to remember if he won it last year or not.
Was it? He did win last year because McGorgy,
he did win last year.
McGorgy was leading quite a lot of it and then had his internet cut out when he looked to be sort of comfortably pulling away from Jan, didn't he? So Owen for TOP was very unlucky. Let's see if TOP can have a bit better fortune this time around. Frelick has been showing some great paces. See Jan really hustling the Super Venturi through Degner 1, which unsettles it into Degner 2. Such a tricky pair of corners. I wouldn't be surprised as this Grand Prix goes on and the tyres start to wear, or if we see a couple of drivers making some high-profile mistakes with big consequences, because the characteristic of this Super League car, it can get very twitchy once the front and rear grip starts to misbehave itself.
Absolutely. So let's update you on a couple of the headlines just quickly before we get into the action. Maciej Winnick was hit with a time penalty after the last race in Turkey due to an incident on the last lap. He was dropped from the top 10 down to 15th position as a result of that. There's also a grid penalty for Matt Richards, who we're expecting to see here today, but he has not turned it up yet. And actually, I've just seen he's been replaced today by Mike Quint. So we will have no Matt Richards, but next time he competes he will have a time penalty. That was for an accident at turn 8 on the first lap that we didn't actually see. And then of course there's also a time penalty for Justin van der Smissen for ignoring blue flags. Sorry, a grid penalty for Justin van der Smissen. In terms of the lineup for today, we're still missing one car. I'm trying to figure out which is the last car that's missing, but I'm not entirely sure about that. We do have some returning drivers after missing the second round of the championship. So Sven Schubert is back, Stein Hangraf is back, Zolt Schukes is back as well. And as we've just seen, Mike Quint for the second race in a row has jumped in as sort of a reserve driver. He will be racing for Fraser Tartan today. So those are the brief highlights, the brief updates that we have to give you coming into this race. In terms of the championship, Jan Granqvist leads by 24 points. That's a huge margin in the early stages from Tom Stevens, who had a very tough time of it in Turkey last time out. Matthew Williams is third after his first podium of the season. Shimon Frelich is fourth in the championship. Loic Mounier is up to fifth, having missed the first round of the championship thanks to his first podium finish in Super League last time out. Carlos Martin is sixth. Tomasz Vok is seventh. Alex Laho drops to eighth with his DNF in Turkey. Robin Panzer is ninth, and Ruven Machete, who isn't a full-time driver and as a result has only done one race, is 10th in the championship courtesy of his 5th position at the Australian Grand Prix. In terms of the teams, Super Venturi leads from TOP Esports, Adonis Engineering, THR and Road to Formula. So that's how it stands, Ed, but back to the action. We've had 5 minutes of qualifying already. Who have you got your eye on in terms of today's action?
Well, I think undoubtedly the man of the minute has got to be Loic Mounier because, of course, he set that brilliant pole position with a really fast lap quite early on at Istanbul, and he's sort of done it again here because he set a 125.8. That's a 2/10 quicker than anybody else, including Matt Williams, who, of course, he had that brilliant duel with throughout the final third of the race at Istanbul Park. So while Jan Granqvist was romping his way to victory, it was the Adonis and Spark cars having a massive fight with at one point they went 3 wide with Simon Frelich as well. It was really, really entertaining. But at the moment, Mounier has got the first 2 sectors very much hooked up. It's really only the final sector that I think anybody might be able to challenge him on that lap. But he just seems really, really confident over the course of one lap, really in control. And it'll be interesting because Suzuka are a little bit harder to overtake than Istanbul Park. So I wonder if Mounier, if he starts from pole position, whether he might have a better chance of being able to convert that to victory, or if Jan Granqvist will use his intellect, his patience, all those qualities that have seen him win a championship and win 8 races now, whether that's going to come to the fore again, as we see Granqvist's teammate Lalu up to 11th, trying to get some important points in that team's championship, where our reigning champions THR have had a bit of a nightmare in recent history. They need to step it up come Suzuka.
Indeed they do. So other things to update you on very quickly in terms of upgrades. Adonis has Red Archer has put in the most R&D points. They've also got quite a lot invested into rear wing downforce. One of only 2 cars to invested into rear wing downforce upgrades at this early point in the season, along with Valet Esports. Only 1 car has got diffuser downforce upgraded, and that is Stax, but they have theoretically the least upgraded car of the lot as it currently stands. It's very hard to keep track of the upgrades as the season goes along, usually because they kind of there's a little bit of a cycle where you will bring in an upgrade every 2 races, and some teams brought them in for the 2nd race, some teams brought them in for the 3rd race, and as a result of that, you end up with some teams looking like they're absolutely romping clear. But even then, some upgrades work better at some tracks than others. Meanwhile, as I've been waffling, Jan Granqvist goes up to the top of the times with a 125.8. 3-1, just 7,000th of a second ahead of Loic Mounier as it stands. Matthew Williams goes up to 3rd, that's where he is in the championship as well. And we're watching Alessandro Maggio, who set a provisional pole position at Australia before being demoted due to a grid penalty. And can he score his first official GPVWC pole position, or GPVWC Super League pole position? That has to, well, we'll have to wait and see, because he's coming into the pits now. And somebody else just jumped up the order. Jarl Tyens 4th currently. Carlos Martin would have been the driver who's jumped up. He is in 5th place, Ed.
Indeed he is, but it's Mounier that's once more lighting up the timing screens, trying to get his own back on Jan Granqvist there. He was a tenth quicker in the 1st sector, middle sector slightly down, but it's looking very, very similar as he drives through a floating cube just before the Casio Triangle, taking a liberal amount of curb there as he now cuts the inside and cuts to the pit lane. He knew that he'd spent too much time going over the curb and that the wheels lifting cost him time while he was airborne there, as we see Simon Frelick go 4 fastest to displace Jarl Tyne there. So Frelick still very much a factor in this qualifying session, as Message Milnek, who of course, as you pointed out, got penalty for his contact on the last lap with it was Sergio Fletcher, of course, who was at the very, very back of the grid due to his own grid penalty, climbed all the way up into the top 10 by the end, as you see Ruel in the other HRT only able to stay 8th fastest, 30 hundredths behind Carlos Martin there. So the margin's extremely tight. Moynier still 7 thousandths shy of Grankvist, who's on provisional pole position. So the pressure is on for Spark here. Can Moynier take 2 poles in a row, or will Grankvist continue to increase his stranglehold on this championship? There come the Red Archers, finally about to set flying laps here in the most upgraded car technically on the grid, although some of that is obviously gone on increasing the speed of the tyre changes in the pit lane. A lot of teams have gone for that as well, so it's not completely on car performance, we must point out.
And good news, Ed, we now have a full house because Vincent Gutt has joined the series in the second Spark car, the car currently last on the timing screen. It probably won't stay last. I've unfortunately been told that Riot Kilk had a crash, and that means that he will not be able to go back out in the session because he did not make it back to the pits. So Kilk will probably end up starting from the back of the grid. I don't think there are any grid penalties left to serve, so that's good to see. It means that what we see is what we get. Jukka-Pekka Lalu coming towards the end of the lap as well. But yeah, it's always good to have a full house of drivers, because it means that it's totally fair for every team, and it also means that nobody's missing out sitting on the sidelines when they shouldn't be. By the way, thank you to David Feidock for giving me that update about Riot Kilk. David, of course, a driver who himself is sitting on the sidelines right now and shopping around for a drive. And I tell you what, if anyone wants a 2-time Super League champion in their car, then look no further than David Feidock. That is definitely, I mean, I would be shocked if we don't see him back in a Super League car by the end of the year. It's going to happen, Ed. But anyway, Tomasz Vok here, a pretty good first sector time, and so it should be. Tomasz Vok is one of only 2 former Japanese Grand Prix winners on the grid. Jan Grankvist, of course, won it last year. Tomasz Vok got his one and only Super League Grand Prix victory 2 years ago at this very track.
It was very unique circumstances with the rain. The RSR team that Vak drove for at the time called it absolutely spot on with Thomas, and he was able to defend off, I think it was Stefan Ruel and Jan Grankvist in those closing stages brilliantly to sort of just about hold on. And that was, of course, his best result to date, his sole win in Super League, as Vak gets up to 8th fastest at the moment. Interesting that Vak, after Leho, sort of really stole a lot of the headlines, didn't he, in Australia. It's now been Vak that his experience has really shone in Istanbul and so far in qualifying here as well, whereas Leho has suddenly started to have a tougher time of it. Here's Matthew Williams, the man who's doing a fantastic job, and we don't talk nearly enough about him, at that excellent duel. Got his only his 3rd Super League podium last time at Istanbul, after basically shadowing Jan Grankvist's strategy. Currently 3rd on the grid at the moment for Adonis, and he's very much keeping them in the mix. Adonis have seemed much stronger than they have in previous seasons, don't they? With that lineup of Williams and Panzar both consistently in the points, and Williams leading the charge, and it's really, really great to see, because so often we see Matthew Williams, the former Superlights champion, much like Grankvist, funnily enough. He's had good starts to the season, then development has sort of faded away, and so has Williams at some of his previous teams. But Adonis seems like a much more competitive prospect, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Williams fighting towards the front of the pack quite often throughout the course of the year, and not just at the start.
Yeah, Williams, one of those drivers who tends to race better than he qualifies. He's up there all of the time and finishes quite high in championships just through consistency. Always has done. I remember back in the WCS League days, that was a league that used to exist and hasn't in a good few years. He'd always be the driver at the top of the times in practice. He'd rarely get pole, but he'd always be up there by the end of the race. Mike Quint goes up to 22nd place. I do wonder how much practice he got, because I was expecting expecting to see Matt Richards behind the wheel of that car today, and Mike Quint has turned up slightly unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Tom
If
Stevens
I can say,
here.
Caitlin, Mike has got plenty of practice, but it's all in the Super Lights car for Lunark and
Fair
not
enough,
for
yeah.
Fraser Tutton in the Super League car. So, yeah, you're right. He is at the deep end, but to get almost into the middle third of the field, that's still impressive. But here comes Tom Stevens, desperately needs a good lap, and he's not got much time to put one in here. He's outside the top 15, which would give him free tyre choice, but that's just scant consolation. THR need better than that.
Yeah, I really doubt that he would settle for 16th place just for the free tyre choice. Tom Stevens second in the championship, qualified really badly, unfortunately, at the last round as well. If we're looking for a driver who races better than he qualifies, Tom Stevens is he's very much been the poster child of that racing philosophy so far this year. Sergio Fletcher goes 12th as we speak. Stefan Ruhl, meanwhile, is improving. He is about a 10th up on Jan Granqvist in the first sector, and a fairly good second sector as well. He's on par for pole position here if he can hook up the third sector. Into the triangle he goes. That was very well. He took a big bite out of that corner, didn't he? He's lucky if that lap hasn't been completely invalidated. And across the line goes 6th. I reckon he lost, well, you can see he's lost 3/10 in that last sector. I reckon he lost all of that in the chicane. Now we're looking at Loic Mounier. He's a 10th up. He's over a 10th up on Jan Granqvist in the first sector. He's just got spoon curve and then the run down towards the Casio Triangle, which is that chicane that ends the lap to go. Loic Mounier could be a real threat for pole position here, his second in a row, the number 2 in second position currently. Through 130R he goes. That's completely flat out in these cars. The only time something goes wrong there is if you get a touch into the corner or something like that. Little Martin goes third, as you say. He is improving in both sectors out of the final corner, and he's furious. He's furious in himself because he did not get that pole position. Jan Granqvist has improved once again. Granqvist improves 125.7, could end up being the pole time, and I think taking that second bite at the steering into the chicane cost Loic Mounier as well. Alex Lahoe goes second position himself. Alessandro Maggio out to the final corner. He goes 5th now. The times are absolutely tumbling, but I think it's all coming to a head now. I think it's all coming to an end, because there aren't that many drivers still to set laps. I think I'd like to see Tom Stevens, if that's okay. Has he completed his lap? He has. Tom Stevens will only be 13th. So Stevens only 13th after all of that. Granqvist takes pole from Lahoe and Mounier, Ed.
Yeah, and it was all in that final sector as well for Granqvist, where he was 2/10 quicker than Mounier, so it really came down to that run through 130R in the Casio Triangle. Lahoe and Granqvist nailed it. Mounier, under pressure, just slipped up there, and now the pressure is well and truly on going into the race.
So Granqvist from Lahoe, Mounier, Martin and Maggio, 3 M's in a row, and a 4th if you count Matthew Williams. Timon Frelich is 7th, then it's the 2 HRTs of Machin Winnick and Stefan Ruhl. Jarl Tyen is in 10th position. You can see that a quarter of a second separates the top 6, as tends to be the case in Super League. Tomasz Vok is P11, then Pascal Pollens. Tom Stevens second in the championship, 13th on the road. Sergio Fletcher is 14th, then it's Robin Panzer and Chris Shepard. Shepard will get the free tyre choice. He'll be the top driver to get that free tyre choice. Dylan Fisher is P17, then it's Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Mark Schluter and Jeffrey Fournier. Then if we go into the last paddle of the screen, we have Daniel Brewer, followed by the Fraser Tartans of Mike Quint, who outqualifies his regular teammate Sven Schubert. Then it's Zolk Schukes, Stein Hangraf, Heigo Poom, Istvan Xingel, Vincent Gutt, who joined late, Wopke Hoekstra, and then Riot Kilk, who unfortunately we heard crashed out early in the session, and as a result of that did not set a lap. We're not expecting any penalties, any grid penalties, so it looks like that will be the order that the cars will start the race in, providing no one decides to brake park firme and start from the pit lane or anything along those lines. But yeah, we'll update you on all of that, plus tyre strategy and everything else when we get to the start of the race. In the meantime, we have a lovely highlights package put together by our own Ed Hunter to update you on what happened last time out at the Turkish Grand Prix. Who do you have for the win? It could be any one of a number of drivers, and we're about to find out because we're underway. Loic Mounier leads us along the starting straight up to turn 1. Mounier has the lead, followed by Frelick and Wok now. Wok fends off Alessandro Maggio, who challenged there for 3rd. Jan Granqvist, championship leader, is in 5th position and fending off Matthew Williams as they go up through turns 3 and 4.
There is Schluter's front wing disappearing as him, Fischer, and is that Jeffrey Fournier all going side by side there through 3, 4 and 5. So just no room there for Mark Schluter. And when you don't qualify particularly high up, you become vulnerable to this sort of melee, don't you?
Here's Tyan lining up the Maciej Winek's HRT just in front of him. Down the back straight, you can see Stevens lining up. Oh, and very wide there goes Hygo Poom. Looks as if he was slightly caught off guard by the braking of the cars in front of him. Into the final corner they go, and out of the first lap, Tyan attempting to overtake Winnick once again. Hygo Poom still challenging both of the THRs, and through into turn 1 goes Tom Stevens. Just about fends it off on the outside line, and here comes Jeffrey Fournier through to 13th. Jarl Tyan now making a move on Maciej Winnick up into 10th position.
And Frelick takes the lead using DRS into turn 12.
Here's Frelick's move. It's relatively straightforward. He's got the DRS open. He's presumably using push to pass. He goes up the inside, and there is nothing that Loic Mounier can do about that.
But Jarl Tyan, he's had enough of being stuck at the back of this train. He is coming into the pits.
And I saw a car in the pits. Is it Maggio? Alessandro Maggio is in the pits from 4th position in the race.
So maybe Loic Mounier genuinely struggling because he's immediately come into the pits.
To be honest though, Frelick's got the pace still. He's actually pulling away from Tomasz Wok, who is under pressure from Jan Granqvist. Granqvist is going to go to the outside line. Wok covered the inside, but there's not really much difference between the two. Jan Granqvist has managed to get through, and into the pits comes Tomasz Wok as expected. Granqvist stays out, as do Williams and Carlos Martin behind Ed.
And Frelick's come in as well, crucially from the lead.
Maggio has passed Mounier. He could potentially be in a podium position here, but yes, Maggio is ahead of Loic Mounier as it is. Shimon Frelick
and he's ahead of Frelick. Granqvist and Williams are in from the lead, so it looks like Martin is pitting too.
And Maggio has gone through, so Maggio, and he's gained a couple of seconds.
And there's
as
the
well.
THRs. Where is Granqvist? He's behind Stevens then. No, Tyan's through as well.
Yeah, Tyan's just got him, so not great from Jan Granqvist there. A big undercut from the THRs. This is Laho we're watching. He's behind Lalu. Lalu himself is going for an overtake. And into turn 1 they go. Whoa! And Laho comes in like an absolute missile and takes out Jukka-Pekka Lalu.
Yeah, you know the expression, your eyes are bigger than your stomach, where you want to eat a lot of food and then suddenly it becomes too much. Well, I think his eyes were bigger than his brake pedal there.
As Jeffrey Fournier picks off Winnick for 10th place there, getting up into that position.
Oh no, his Maggio just been disconnected. Oh, that is cruel.
Unfortunately, we have lost Alessandro Maggio from this race. That looks to be a straight disconnection from the lead.
Laho was just struggling to keep the points scorers in sight. Here he is into turn 1, and does he just having a big snap around, and I think he decides he's just had enough. Was he somebody pitting? I think that was a lapped car coming. No, it's Jarl Tyan, sorry. Will Granqvist die for the pits in reaction? No, Stevens will, of course, on the mediums himself. So he had to do that to keep Jarl Tyan behind. So here we go, DRS down the back straight into turn 12, and are both THRs going to pick off the Epic Racing car of Dan Brewer. Well, they're certainly going to try to, as Tyan nearly loses it, and round goes Stevens! Oh no! Stevens and Brewer come together.
He might have been about to have a big... Oh, he's gone into him again! Oh my goodness! Stevens runs right into the back of Daniel Brewer. What is going on between those two?
So Islan Singal going through turn 8. Behind, I think that's Vopke Hoekstra in front of him. Is it? Oh, big twitch there. And that's going to be difficult to rejoin because you sort of touch the grass as you do so, going back from the runoff area. And he's lucky not to hit the wall there.
Jarl Tyan now going for a move on Hygo Poom. Goes through.
Jarl Tyan lining up Milnek as they go towards... Oh, it's going to be through turn 11. But DRS just flapping open just enough space there. Left by the HRT, but Jarl Tyan not going to be intimidated. Up the inside he goes as we see Poom being picked off by Panzer in the background as well. As race leader Frelick comes in for his pit stop.
And we're watching Jan Grankvist challenging Meunier for the race lead. He goes to the outside. He's got 2 corners left in the lap. Now, is Meunier going to dive into the pits? He does, as he comes out of the pit lane now. And that is Frelick going through. So Frelick will actually gain a good few seconds on him there.
And Stevens, his miserable day, being compounded by a bit of rain and very, very comfortable overtake quite early on down the straight by Carlos Martin there.
Pascal Pollentz there challenging Riot Kilk for P15. Goes through as well. So, into the pits now come the leaders, Grankvist and Williams. Shimon Frelick goes through, Loic Meunier goes through. Now where's Matthew Williams? That's who I'm more interested in. As you can see, it's getting slippery now as Grankvist exits the pits. There is Williams, and Williams, he's ahead of Walk, but still behind Jan Grankvist. It's Mike Quinn. Is he going to catch a damp patch? Is he going to lose control? He goes over the curb, and there won't be any grip out there, and wallop into the wall he goes. And Tyne's in the pits. And there he goes. Grankvist up the inside of Meunier, and he goes through into 2nd position. And Grankvist has caught Frelick. He's within 0.4 of a second of him. We're watching the action. He's going to pass him on the straight. Jan Grankvist on the softer tyres with the DRS goes through and leads the race. Jarl Tyne up into 7th place. He can still bag a good result here.
It says Meunier up the inside back into 2nd position. Past Simon Frelick.
This looks like a pretty straightforward move here. Matthew Williams does go to the inside. Frelick doesn't bother to move over to the left, and Williams does go through now.
Here comes Stevens, looking to get past Fletcher back into the top 12, but it's sort of damage limitation, isn't it, for THR? Williams using the DRS to inch closer. He's going to make a dive into 12. No, he thinks better of that, but Loic Meunier slides out, and up the inside goes Matthew Williams into 2nd position, but Meunier pushes him wide, and he's going to try and hang around the outside into the final corner. Side by side they go. Frelick licks his lips in anticipation because he knows what might be coming here next as they go sideways into turn 1, and is Williams going to break up the inside, just about slots his way through into 2nd position as they all squirm for traction.
And here's the move for 2nd. Loic Meunier, he's locked up, and he goes into the side of Williams, forces him off the line, and he does get the move. So Meunier does go through. Big twitch from Frelick behind. That was a little bit forceful, basically a touring car style move there from Loic Meunier. I don't think he intended to hit Williams, but whatever the case, Robin's racing sometimes, and through he goes. Now on the exit, Frelick tries to line them up. Wide goes Williams. Frelick might get 3rd here. He does. Frelick goes through to 3rd.
And now Frelick is going to have another go, this time at getting back into 2nd position. He wants revenge on Loic Meunier. Meunier's not going to let him have it. He does a ring of death round the outside. Almost slides into him, does slide into someone. Frelick, and they're free wide at the final corner. That's never going to work. Williams holds his nerve round the outside of Simon Frelick. He goes back onto the podium then.
DRS open for Matthew Williams. Once again, lines up Loic Meunier, who he's nearly come together with a few times already. Round the outside, Meunier locks up. They do come together. They do tangle. And Shimon Frelick's up the inside. And through goes Williams. So Williams is 2nd. Tom Stevens is getting back into the top 10 now, passing Hygo Poom. And there he goes up the inside. This is Stevens on Lally. And he takes a look to the outside of turn 4. That's a bold one. Up the inside. Little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and he's on the outside again. Oh, don't spin around. And there's Williams on the last lap, round the outside of Loic Meunier, who fends him off. And Meunier's taken 2nd there, and Jan Grankvist wins for the 2nd time in a row. Great stuff for Jan Grankvist. Great stuff on the last lap. We're going to see a replay of it as he lines him up going down the straight. Dumps the push-to-pass. Will absolutely drain the battery. Goes to the outside, and he does it. Loic Meunier gets the move done, and they come together again. They came together on the last lap in Turkey. Jan Grankvist has made it 2 wins from 2. He wins here in Turkey. Then it's Loic Meunier 2nd in his 1st podium finish. Great job from Loic there. Matthew Williams is 3rd. Then it's Shimon Frelick, Tomasz Vok, Carlos Martin, and Jarl Tyne. Robin Panzer, Jakob Ekalalu, who passed Tom Stevens on the last lap as Jan Grankvist does some victory spins down the straight. Tom Stevens, of course, 10th position. He will lose that 2nd place in the championship. Hygo Poom is P11. Then it's Sergio Fletcher from the very back of the grid. Good stuff from Sergio. Maciej Winnick is 13th. Then it's Dylan Fisher, Jeffrey Fournier, who will claim the last point. All right, welcome back everyone. We are just a couple of minutes away now from the start of the Japanese Grand Prix in 2025. We have 40 seconds left on the warm-up clock, and when that ticks down, well, 33 seconds now. When that ticks down, we'll get the checkered flag out, and of course, well, unfortunately we can't go racing straight away. We need to tick the session over. They'll have 1 minute to get themselves onto the grid, and then of course we've got to do a formation lap. But then it will be time to go live and go racing for 53 laps, I think it is, of the Japanese Grand Prix circuit. Now, Ed, we haven't spoken about strategy here yet. This is a track which is relatively high on tyre wear because of the faster corners, but also track position matters so much here. There really aren't that many overtaking opportunities, as we saw from the real-life Formula 1 Grand Prix here the other day. There really aren't that many overtaking opportunities, so you've got to make sure you're not making unnecessary pit stops, because you won't necessarily be able to carve your way through the traffic. So are we expecting 1 stops or 2 stops? I think probably a mix of both.
I agree, and if you remember this race last season, obviously up the front, Grankvist really got, as I said, the win handed to him when McGorgy unfortunately was forced out by a disconnection. But if you were looking at the likes of Matthew Williams and Mark Schluter, interestingly enough, both of them pit quite late in the race for soft tyres and were able to make the overtakes. And in the case of Matthew Williams, he was able to get onto the bottom step of the podium when I think it was Panzer, his new team, actually ran out of fuel on the last lap, which let Martin through as well. But yeah, it was. I think it can be done. I think you've just got to really pick your moments. There are a couple places like 200R, you can get good entry into Spoon out of that from the hairpin. The hairpin is another decent overtaking opportunity if it opens up for you at the Degners. But really, the DRS into turn 1 is probably where you're going to see the lion's share of the overtakes here. Maybe into the Casio Triangle at 130R as well if somebody leaves the door open. But yeah, I think someone like Grankvist is going to try and lead strategy today, and I think it's up to everybody else to try and react to that. Having said that, we did see Maggio last round pit much earlier than everybody else, and he was able to get track position, take the lead. We'll never know what he could have made of that because, of course, he got disconnected, but it wouldn't surprise me if the likes of Valet, Rotor Formula with Alex Lahoe, Loic in the Spark, even Carlos Martin, the TOP, if all 4 of them are sort of trying to think about outsmarting Jan Grankvist through strategy rather than necessarily doing a do-or-die overtake, although I wouldn't put it past any single one of them.
Yeah, you can't really rub anything off. I mean, the Japanese Grand Prix, I say that it's not too good for overtaking, but you remember the 2023 race, there were loads. Jan Grankvist coming through from the back was absolutely phenomenal in that one. And it really varies year on year. I mean, there have been some Japanese Grand Prix where I have to admit they've been a little bit forgettable. And then there have been others that have been absolute barnstormers. So you really do never know what to expect. And as you can see, we're now seeing the first few cars appearing onto the grid. Most of them leave it a little bit later because you are using up a little bit of fuel as you sit there. So usually you'll try to come out with about 10 seconds left just for safety. And then, of course, when that ticks to 0, you will start the formation lap and we'll be able to run you through the starting order one last time before the start of the race. I don't know what we're looking at there. That's the back of somebody's garage, but that's all.
Who's got the grey garage, Caitlin? Is it AKA Hero?
Well, I think it's the back of the garage. I expect if we looked at it from the other...
The bit they don't model. Yeah, they don't bother putting logos on.
Yeah. It would probably be nice and decorated and all of that. I heard from Dethan Rootring they'd finally updated the HRT pit with the new livery and all of that. And now you see that all of the cars emerge out onto the track basically at exactly the same time. They leave it as late as they can. It's basically like mechanics in Formula 1 waiting until the very last second to remove the tyre warmers. And then out we go onto the circuit. So we will once again be able to run you through the starting order for this race. As you see, Jan Grankvist, championship leader, going for 3 race victories in a row. That would be quite something if he was able to pull it off. Alex Lahoe is second, then it's Loic Mounier, Carlos Martin in 4th, then Alessandro Maggio, Matthew Williams, Shimon Frelich and Maciej Winnick. Winnick, I think, possibly the last driver to win 3 races in a row, if I remember correctly. Then we have Stefan Roll, 9th position. Jarl Tyen, only 10th. Tough qualifying for THR. Then it's Tomasz Vok and Pascal Polens. G Sports yet to score a point this year. They could do with that. Tom Stevens, 13th. He's got a lot of ground to make up. Sergio Fletcher, 14th. Then Robin Panzer and Chris Shepard in the Red Archer. Dylan Fisher, P17, we just mentioned, aka Hero. Then Jukka-Pekka Lalu, P18, the pole sitter's teammate, not having a great time of it. Mark Schluter, P19, then Jeffrey Fournier, P20. Dan Brewer, Mike Quint, Sven Schubert and Zolt Schukes, so both of the Fraser Tartan racing cars on that particular tile. The team run by Toby Davis. Then Stein Hangraf, Heigo Pume, Istvang Singel and Vincent Gutt. And of course, the final 2 cars on the grid will be on their own on a tile. We have Wopke Hoekstra P29 and then Riot Kilk starting from the back, although potentially slightly out of position due to that incident. Right, could we have a look at tyre compounds if that's okay? Because this is important, especially at Japan where track position is everything. We need to see who the top drivers are in each individual tyre compound. As you can see, pretty much everyone back from the top 15 has gone for something different. Chris Shepard in 16th place, the top driver who could have picked something else, has picked something else. He will start on the medium compound of tyre, and then the top driver on hard tyres was around about 24th place. We'll see when it's 22nd, and it's Mike Quint. So both of the Fraser Tartans going for the hard tyres. Expect them to run long into this race and see what they can do from there. So anyway, onto the grid we go. You see Riot Kilk also on soft tyres. He'll be trying to make up some ground in the early stages after his qualifying shunt. He's the only driver out of the top 15, aside from Stein Hangraf, to actually go for the soft tyres. Ed, the tension's building. Here we go.
Yeah, just to correct you, it wasn't Milnik who was the most recent driver to win 3 races in a row on the bounce. It was Jan last year at, of course, Saudi Arabia, this race, and China, Shanghai.
All right, I believe the last one before that was probably Mathieu Winnick.
That's correct, but that wasn't quite what you said.
not what I said. I tried to say that.
Retroactively change it.
Okie dokie, so looks as if everybody's in position. I don't see the lights illuminating on the front of the gantry just yet.
You will in a minute.
But when they do, we will wait for them to go out, and then when they go out, the race will be underway for 53 laps of the Japanese Grand Prix. And here come the lights. Okay, I was wondering if we just couldn't see them, but there they are. 5 red lights, and it's go! Jan Grankvist will lead them away. Cars fanning out in the background, and Lahou drops back. He couldn't quite get side by side with Grankvist into turn 1. Munier comes through in P3, then it's Martin and Maggio. Looks to be clean at the front. It's usually at the back where things happen though, so I'm speaking way too early. And then up through the S's we go. So important to get this right. And somebody's spinning.
Stevens is around.
THRs, and I think it's both of the THRs. Both THRs are dropping down the order. My goodness, what a disaster for the reigning team's champions.
Oh dear, it all stemmed from that terrible qualifying. But yeah, only one of them just squeaked into the top 10. But you saw there, Stevens went around. I think Tyen may have even had a separate incident happen at the same time. There's Tom with no front wing and one of the Fraser Tartans with no front wheel.
So, Tom Stevens is missing his front wing. Quint is out of the race. Istvang Singel is out of the race. It's carnage on the first lap.
Dan Brewer also without a front wing, Caitlin.
And we'll have to wait till the replay to see exactly what happened here, but both of the THRs were involved. Tyen is 20th. Stevens will be right at the back. Jeffrey Fournier is out of the race. So that's 2 cars confirmed out. And Quint, I think, is trying to make it back to the pits on 3 wheels. You can do that. Realistically, he's out of the race, but we'll have to see. There's yellow flags now, and I think Heigo Pume around a couple of positions. So he may well have had a little incident. And we're going to see a replay pretty much immediately. And here is Jarl Tyen. You can see the THRs are together. Please tell me it wasn't the THRs who kicked this off. They're still side by side. It was! They tangle wheels, and the 2-time teams champions both go around and smash into the back of them. Go pretty much everyone. Around went Jukka-Pekka Lalu, and here's how Tom Stevens saw it. He's side by side with Jarl Tyen, and it just converged on the exit of the corner. There! And around he goes, and then wallop! My goodness! I think that was Dylan... Oh, it was Heigo Pume getting involved initially. There's Quint. There's Singel. He's the car just ahead. Lalu goes for a spin. And now we're going to see it on board with Mike Quint, who is still trying to get it back to the pit lane on 3 wheels. Oh, and there it goes. What a palaver, Ed. My goodness.
Poor Mike was driving into the thin end of a wedge there. There wasn't really a lot of time to react or anywhere to go. Poor Mark Schluter was also spun around in all of that, and several drivers in the pits at the moment. Quint has made it back to the pit entry though, and just having to spin as he gets in there. So the drama never ends for the poor Fraser Tartan team, although his teammate Sven Schubert has survived all of that and gotten into 14th. Then Chris Shepard, actually the big winner of the melee there, because he's gotten up to 11th on the medium tires there, right behind Pascal Pollens. So yeah, that's really, really good news for Red Archer. But in terms of the front runners, the most interesting thing for me was Frelick actually had an amazing start, as we see Quint finally get into the pit box for repairs, urgently needed repairs, dare I add. But Simon Frelick had an absolutely brilliant getaway off the line, got around the outside of Williams before the S's there, and was able to take the line. Exactly what Tom Stevens tried to do on his teammate, but unfortunately him and poor Jarl Tyne, who's still going in 17th, they locked wheels, and that caused the absolute melee, catastrophic melee really, that took out injured and damaged half of the field, especially those near the back, of course.
And after all that, unfortunately, Mike Quint has retired from the race, so he made it all the way back and then retired the car. Props for commitment, I guess, but my goodness, Dylan Fisher still in the pits as well. He might be out himself. Tom Parker says Spa 98 called. Yes, of course, the biggest Formula 1 crash of all time in terms of damage. Jarl Tyne is out. Jarl Tyne is dropping down the order. We saw the yellow flag. He is out of the race. So another driver caught out by the incidents on the opening lap has, well, I presume had another incident, either that or pulled up. Matthew Williams here, running in 7th position. Jeffrey Fournier says, guys, we're going flat out into a crash. Yeah, that did seem to be the case. There was a similar incident as Shimon Frelick here lines up a move on Alessandro Maggio, but has to back out of it for now. There was a... Oh, he touches him. He touched him in the rear there, and, well, a little sideways got Maggio out of the corner. And there's Dylan Fisher, who has made it back into the race, but he's got the whole field streaming through now, so he's got to make sure. I would stop right there if I was you, Dylan. Just wait for everybody to go through, and then you can rejoin safely. He's 2 laps down anyway, so he would very much rely on attrition to score points in this race. But anyway, what I was going to say is there was a very similar race in the Formula Sprint 2, race 1, where somebody spun at the front of the field, and unfortunately everybody piled in behind. I was in that race and had to take to the grass, and basically all you see in that situation is just a big plume of dust. And you don't know whether it's just someone dipped a wheel into the grass or whether there's been a massive crash in front of you. But anyway, and here's Jarl Tyne. We're going to see if he's had another crash or whether he has just pulled up and given up. He's coming into the Degner curves now. These are difficult in... Oh, and he's round and wallop. And that's his 2nd crash of the day, but unfortunately this time it is terminal, Ed.
And his 2nd crash of the season, because he binned it in the season opener in Australia as well. So yeah, it's really not been a fun start to the season for Jarl or THR in general, of course. The other thing that I was reacting to was Wopke Hoekstra in the green stripe overtaking Robin Panzer for the final point. Wopke is on a harder compound of tyre as well, so I suspect Panzer may still be nursing a bit of damage from that opening lap melee as well. Now Stein Handgraf in the other green stripes has also made it past Robin as well. So are we going to see a replay? Looks like Robin may have made a mistake here, and that has allowed Wopke, the Dutchman. Oh, there we go, just on the exit there, the rear completely snapped, and that's Wopke Hoekstra into the points for the first time in at least 2 or 3 years. So he will be absolutely excited to see that going his way there, and well-deserved too. Fortune favours the bold, and in this case, things are really starting to go his way. Although, having said that, Handgraf has now taken the final point away from him.
The order as we were talking, and there was a yellow flag, so I'm wondering if something happened to him as Anyway, we go back up to the front of the field. Jan Granqvist, by the way, has extended his lead to over 1.5 seconds, nearly 2 seconds now away from Alex Lehoux, and that, of course, is important because 1 second is the DRS buffer. Lehoux still has to contend with Meunier.
Frelick up to 5th
And Frelick is 5th, as you say. Yes, good job. So Shimon Frelick gets the second TOP esports car now into the top 5.
And interesting, Frelick now starting to lap faster than Martin ahead of him and starting to get within DRS though. So will TOP do a swap here? Because we know Martin has been very, very complimentary about Simon going into this season. Now Carlos has been able to out-qualify him. Will he let Simon through without a fight, or will there be a bit of personal pride here? I suspect Carlos, so early in the race, will not want to hold him up whatsoever here. But this is going to get interesting because I don't think Simon is quite close enough to just get through uncontested without the threat of Maggio potentially following him through as well.
Oh, McGorky's in the YouTube chat. He says, Jan took a note from my book of Suzuka cheats. He'll disconnect now in 42 minutes. God, I hope not. But anyway, good to see you here, Owen. Good to see everyone else here. David Yunt, of course, another former Super League driver. Jeffrey Fournier is kind of a former Super League driver, although that's a little bit of a harsh way of saying he's out of the race. Shimon Frelick here, 5th position. Has just got past Alessandro Maggio on that last lap. He's now got his teammate up ahead. Carlos Martin did very well to qualify as high up the order as he did, and Carlos, of course, said at the start of the season that Shimon would beat him in every single session of the year, but that has already been proven false as Martin out-qualified his younger teammate Shimon Frelick in the early stages. Robin Panzer into the pits as well. That's very early. So
long stop as well.
Long stop. Does he have damage? He could, but he could also just be getting out of the way of everyone and doing an alternate strategy, maybe going long on hard tyres. Those do look like hard tyres actually, so that's part of the plan, I guess. But anyway, and there you see the tyre compounds that everyone is on. Sven Schubert up to 14th position, so he got through the melee very, very well on the opening lap. He is the top driver on hard tyres. Chris Checkered still the top driver on mediums, but he is up to 12th place, Ed.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's an all-French duel for second going on, and we've heard lots of fun and games and interesting exchanges between Lehoux and Meunier, especially going into the season where Meunier called Lehoux, wasn't it, the French hobbit or something, in reference to his height. And now he wants to try and usurp him, doesn't he, for another second position in a row, potentially a chance to stop Granqvist from disappearing into the distance. Meanwhile, Carlos Martin still holding firm in 4th position, not going to cede to his teammate Simon Frelick just yet. But for Meunier, this is interesting because he's getting DRS. He's starting to really put pressure on Lehoux, and we've not really seen Lehoux at this level have to face this kind of a relentless assault, not least from his own countrymen as well, who we might don't think he would have expected Lloyd to go easy on him, certainly. But while Granqvist is starting to escape up the road, I think Alex Lehoux might be thinking to himself, come on Lloyd, let's work together and stop him from beating both of us in this race, rather than squabbling with each other and just losing further time.
Yeah, both of these drivers got their first Super League podium in one of the 2 first races of the year. So these two both on a real upturn in form, albeit quite early in their GPVWC Super League careers. I don't think Meunier is close enough for a move this time, but he'll have the DRS. And in the background, I think the TOP esports cars are swapping. There you go. So Shimon Frelick has been released now to chase down that battling duo of Lehoux and Meunier. And no real surprise there. Martin, always the team player, really believes in Shimon Frelick, and so he should, because Frelick is an absolute superstar. Meanwhile, I've just noticed in the chat, Tom Parker says, no Super League mention for me. I can fix that. Tom Parker also in the YouTube chat, the Super League driver who famously crashed in the pit lane of the 2017 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Happy now, Tom? Also, Ruben Machete says no Super League mention for me. I did mention you earlier, Ruben. You are still 10th in the championship, despite having only done 1 race this year. So that is very, very impressive. Ruben Machete, I'm sure we will see in Super League again, probably again before the end of the year. Anyway, Stefan Roll here, P13 on the back of Chris Checkered. Checkered on the alternate strategy on the medium tyres. Roll, of course, a former Super League champion. Also goes pretty well here at Suzuka, although hasn't quite won it. and around the spoon curve, the double apex spoon curve that really catches you off guard. You think you're through it and then it tightens and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? There's a big curb on the outside that can sort of skate or cause the car to skate to the outside. You can sometimes line up a car here into the Casio triangle, but you really need cooperation from your opponent. Meanwhile, Meunier has caught up to Alex Lahoe. He'll get up the inside, and that's important because that's where you need to be for the first corner. Through he goes, and Sven Schubert's out of the race. Oh, that's sad. He was up into the points in the Fraser Tartan car, but unfortunately there will be no points for the FDR squad today as both of their cars are out of the race, Ed.
Yeah, but this is really turning into a race of survival for everybody. But that is both AK Heroes at the back still going though, but both Fraser Tartans and Yaltine and Single and Fournier all out of the running then. So Schubert, is this into 130R or is this a disconnection then? It is a disconnection, so not even his fault. So that's incredibly unfortunate because, yeah, Sven had a great chance of at least nicking a couple of points. This puts Stein Handgraf, though, a couple of places higher up into 14th, and it puts Vincent Gutt into the points as well on the hard compounder tyre.
Yeah, well, FTR, unfortunately, one of the three teams... yet to score a point, 18th. They got a 13th place finish with Sven Schubert, I think, in the first race of the year. This is their second double DNF in a row. The three teams who haven't yet scored points are Edge Esports, believe it or not, because of course Mark Schluter's had a terrible start to the year. Green Stripes Racing and Stax Racing. Those are the three teams without any. Red Archer Virtual Racing Team, who we're watching now with Chris Shepard, only have 1 point to their name, but Shepard currently on form for a few more, and he's attacking, going for a move on Sergio Fletcher, and having to back out of it now, but he's fighting with Fletcher and Stefan Roth, who's just behind him.
Yeah, this is interesting, because I'm not sure if this is sort of a crossover point or if Shepard's lap times are a little bit flattered by the fact that Sergio Fletcher's giving him DRS at the moment, and that's certainly helping him keep the HRT behind him at bay, isn't it? So yeah, will have to sort of wait his turn in behind, but yeah, certainly to lap in the sort of low 32s while the leaders are in Grankvist 31.5s, Lemonnier 31.3s, and then Lahoe 32.4. So Lahoe is starting to, since being overtaken, he is starting to lose a bit of touch with the top two, and his race might be more about holding on to that final spot at the podium for now. And from these two, Simon Frelick and Carlos Martin. Maggio, interestingly, I think has started to drive quite conservatively here because Williams, as well as Frelick, were able to get past him as well. So he definitely seems to be biding his time here. As we see, Lahoe again does not quite looking hooked up through the Casio triangle, and Simon Frelick well in the DRS now is going to try and snatch that third place away from him, and with a bit of push to pass at his aid as well, he's well up the inside into turn 1, and Frelick up to third.
Good move, and that's why Carlos Martin released him to hunt down Alex Lahoe and bring Carlos with him. Stefan Roth still on the back of Shepard, who himself is on the back of Fletcher. These three right together, despite of course Shepard being on a different tyre compound. But yeah, good move from Shimon Frelick up into the podium places, and his next target is Loic Meunier, who is up in second place. Meanwhile, Jan Grankvist is 2.5 seconds out in front and continuing to extend his lead. With that being said, we're still very early into this race, 11 laps in out of 53. When do you think we should start expecting pit stops, Ed? Probably lap 20 maybe from the leaders? 20,
well,
25?
Everyone outside the top 18 that's still going has made a pit stop, like, mainly because of repairing damage or for various different reasons. But but yeah, those of course on the harder tyres will try and run a bit longer. But our front runners, it should be sort of when we get closer and closer to lap 20, that should be about the markers. Now we're going to see Martin breeze past Lahoe into 130R there. Important move there. But you can tell the R2F does not have the straight line speed quite the same as the TOP, though, as Martin absolutely drifts it into the entry for the Casio triangle, which actually holds up Alex Lahoe again. And now Matthew Williams is starting to get involved here as we see Hygo Poom letting everybody, all the leaders through on the lead lap there, trying not to become a part of this fight for the lead, essentially.
Yeah, both AKA Hero cars now a lap down, I'm afraid to say. They've had a torrid start to the race.
Oh.
And Checkered going through on Fletcher. He is really flying, actually, in these early stages. I've been very impressed by Chris Checkered, and I guess we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out as the race goes along. Stein Hangraf into the pits, by the way, puts Vincent Gutt up into 15th place from the very last row of the grid. Good job from Vincent Gutt in these early stages. However, Erat Koi in the YouTube chat says, I suggest to stop speaking about the low-scoring teams in the points. Second time this happened. Yeah. I think the commentator's curse has been very alive today. Sven says that was his first disconnect in his sim racing career. My goodness. Well, first of all, welcome to the club.
He's been going a while, hasn't he?
He has. Well, his first Super League race was 2017, but yeah, very unfortunate, Sven, and I'm sorry to see that that happened to you, because that was quite a start to the race. But anyway, 25 cars remaining. It's going to be one of those days, a little bit of attrition, and you tend to come to expect that from Suzuka sometimes.
Yeah, while I've been talking, by the way, Caitlin, through Degner 2, Hygo Poom really badly held up Leho and Williams as well. And you can tell, having pit for fresh tyres, Hygo is very, very reluctant on those hards to let people through, but he's sort of got to because of the blue flags. And you can see Maggio is going to be next target as well. But this means Leho has lost DRS from the back of Carlos Martin. And he's got to be really, really careful here because he could be a sitting duck for Matthew Williams.
Yeah, sorry I was on mute there. I was congratulating my teammate Charlie Menink for winning a Dutch championship, the Dutch Alpine Cup. So well done, Charlie, for that. And you can have a little shout out on the screen, why not? Anyway, 13 laps into the 53-lap race. Jan Grangfist now 3 seconds. Oh, well, he was 3 seconds ahead. I think that was just because of where he was relative to the sector splits. Did seem to lose a little bit of time there.
Wardy has been gaining about 3/10 on him per lap.
And Williams just passed Martin, I think. I just saw them swap. We didn't see how that happened, but Williams is now 5th with Martin 6th.
Yeah, I think Martin made a mistake, didn't he? Because he was ahead of both Leho and Williams, and now he's behind the pair of them. So what on earth has happened here? Oh, it's into the Degners. As we see, he's just gone straight in the gravel.
Yeah, there was a mistake. You saw him dip wheels into the gravel up ahead, and that just dragged the car wide. That's what I meant earlier when the curbs caused the cars to skate. And indeed, he's lost 2 places as a result of that. We see this on board, and yeah, that's just what happens in the Degners. We've all done it so many times, whether it's in practice or in a race. And most of us have ended up in that wall on the outside there as well. But Carlos Martin was a little luckier than that, just lost 2 places. And I think we now see Dylan Fisher pulling up. So that will be our 6th retirement of the day, Ed.
Oh, and first pit stops coming in. It's Leho and Polenz, the first to pull the trigger along with Sergio Fletcher.
Hygo Poom's back in the pit, so it may well be a double DNF for AKA Hero. Unfortunately it is. They're probably just intending to save the engines, but that's still very unfortunate indeed. Leho, Polenz, Fletcher and Kilk, as you say, all in the pits as we speak, and they will have their mandatory tyre change, but from here it may well be a 2-stop race. You tend to see either 1 stop or 2 stops in this race. In the real world of Formula 1, it tends to be 1 stop unless there's a safety car, in which case they will all basically switch onto the 2-stop strategy, depending on when the safety car falls. But in Super League, you don't have to worry about that. There is no safety car, and that makes track position all the more important, because you're not going to be gaining back any gaps that end up forming in these races. You have to stay on it the entire way through. Carlos Martin now trying to make his way back up to Matthew Williams, who he lost a place to on that last lap through his own mistake, I'm afraid to say. And Williams will not let him through that easily. We've seen how good he is in defence so far this season. And Carlos Martin, I think, is about to find that out firsthand. Meanwhile, Jan Grangfist pits from the lead. Let's take a look at that, because the leader is in, and he should be going for a 2-stop strategy, Ed.
Yeah, that's quite telling that he was worried about the pit stop from Leho, because he's decided to cover that one off then. So it looks like Leho has gone for the mediums. Grangfist is going for the hards, though.
The hard tyres. Could that carry him through to the end? There is a possibility. What you sometimes see Jan Grangfist do is kind of leave himself a little bit flexible. We saw this at Silverstone last year, where he pitted really, really early, and it looked as if he was going for a two-stop strategy. But then he realised at some point in the race, hold on, if I stay out here, I can win this race just by holding off my opponents. So he did this. So he did that. Robin Pansar did the same, and they ended up first and second. If anyone can do it, Grankvist can. And so we can't take it for granted that he is due another pit stop, but we will have
He's
to.
come out into a big bit of clear air, Caitlin, because look, he's 10th. It's actually no, isn't it 8/10 to no, it's like 7 seconds, isn't it, to Royal ahead of him, and then 4 seconds behind to his teammate Lalu. So Lalu can potentially hold up Laho if Laho is able to clear Vincent Gut very, very quickly here on those fresh tyres. So yeah, this could be a really, really interesting move from Superventure. It opens it up, but now Moynier and Frelick, surely they're going to extend in response to that and try and do a one stop less potentially come the end of this race, because that could well be Grankvist pitting at the end for a fresh set of soft tyres and then breezing past them is what we might be set up for here, as in comes Maggio.
Yeah, that's a lovely bit of clean air there for Jan Grankvist, and quite rare at this early stage in the race. Alex Maggio also in the pits, as you say. And Grankvist has 2 cars splitting himself from Alex Laho, who was in that battle at the very start of the race. I think what's going to be telling is where Mounier comes out, whether he's closer to Laho or closer to Grankvist, as to whether Laho had a bad stop or something like that. But anyway, Maggio will come out just behind Laho, I think. He's out onto the road. Does Pollens get him? I think Maggio, he stays ahead. So Maggio 13th, and the next car up the road is Alex Laho, who he was chasing before this pit stop window as well.
Yeah, there we go. It's updated medium tyres, I think, on Maggio then. So again, he was. I said he was going quite conservatively in the first stint, but I think he might genuinely have just not had the tyre life there on the soft. So let's see if the mediums treat him any better. Laho and Grankvist both on the hards, by the way, ahead of him. Those two have both stopped. So yeah, Maggio in theory has got a tyre advantage on Laho, and this is exactly what Alex Laho would not have wanted at this phase, because he's got one of the fastest drivers on the grid, other than himself, of course, right behind him on a sort of faster set of compound. And now it looks like Moynier, is he going to pit? Yes, he is. So it was high time he responded, and Simon Frelick shadowing him like a ghost as they go into the pit box.
Indeed, so Mounier and Frelick in. Matthew Williams stays out and leads the race. He's in a battle with Carlos Martin still. Doesn't look like they're close enough for a move into turn 1. Tomasz Vok and Stefan Roll all pitting on the same lap. This looks like a popular strategy. Everyone agrees onto medium tyres here, or indeed soft tyres. I'm not sure if Frelick changed tyres at all. Well, no, sorry, he would have changed tyres, but changed tyre compound. Yeah, so everyone who has not gone onto the hard tyres will presumably be doing a 2-stop strategy. I really don't think you could run to the end on medium tyres from here, and I don't think you'd want to, even if it is possible. But sometimes it does take a few corners.
Maggio fighting for 11th on the pit exit here, and it looks like Maggio has prevailed then. So there we go.
Yeah.
It's very, very close on exit, and in fact actually just ahead of Polenz as well. So that has just about worked out for Rotor Formula. Sorry to interrupt, Caitlin, but in the meantime, Moynier and Frelick is still in a net second and third then, so no threat from Laho from the undercut there, because they've still got Lalu and Gut in between them.
Yeah, they've really gained from Laho and Maggio, actually. That worked out really well for the top 3, Grankvist, Mounier and Frelick. In terms of Maggio, he's definitely going for a 2-stop strategy. I know it looked a little bit like he was going conservative at the start, but as Rodrigo Carvalho said in the YouTube chat, Maggio and conservative just don't go together. He's not exactly renowned for his tyre saving abilities, so he tends to go for an extra pit stop. And on this occasion, that would be the 2-stop strategy. Matthew Williams into the pits now, so Carlos Martin will have his turn to lead. And you sometimes see this, a bit of a cycle of drivers leading the race at this stage. And Martin will be, I think, our 3rd different official. He'll be our 4th official leader, because we had Grankvist, then Mounier, then Williams, and now Martin. Although realistically, it's been Grankvist leading the net order the whole way. And Maggio has got Laho. Maggio has got Laho, and that was important. He had to do that because he's on those softer tyres than Laho's tyres, and as a result, he was going to be held up if he wasn't able to do that. He's now got to pass Vincent Gut just as sharpish. Here we see a replay and he'd have got him down into turn 1. He's got a good run out of the chicane there. That's where the softer tyres help you, because you can get the traction as Williams coming out of the pits ahead of them, and does get ahead, and Maggio goes sweeping past Alex Laho into turn 1.
Yeah, so that's worked out very badly because for Laho especially, because not only has Maggio passed him, but Williams has overcut both of them essentially by pitting later. He's got fresher tyres now, so Williams is going to be a bit much to deal with here. And you can see Maggio, the difference in between those fresher mediums and the quite worn hard tyres that Vincent, who started near the very back of the field, is now just inside the top 10, of course, but that's because he hasn't stopped yet. So the second spark here, he's really just trying to help Loic at the moment as much as he can, as we see our top two, Martin and Milnet, coming into the lead. So Chris Checkered is going to lead for Red Archer for the first time in about 2 years, it must be said. It was a yellow in the first sector.
Indeed, and we don't know what that is, but yes, Chris Checkered leads the race. He'll be our 5th different official race leader. Out of the pits they go. And here is Alessandro Maggio, who's going to be just behind Carlos Martin. We cut away to a replay, and this is, well, it can't be Yartayan. He's been out of the race for a long time. This will be someone else, and it's Zeeuw Schukes. So Zeeuw Schukes in the S's has a big kick and a big spin. I did that in the second FS2 race, actually. And it's a double, triple spin, my goodness.
And then a 180.
Two and a half times round, backs it into the gravel. He should be able to continue from there, providing he had auto clutch turned on and has kept the engine. And he'll rejoin, and he does not rejoin the race. So only 22 of our 30 starters will remain, unfortunately. Zeeuw Schukes is our latest retirement.
And that's both stacks is gone from the race. So now Tom Stevens in 22nd is still our last driver going, and he's about 2.5 seconds behind. Guess who, Caitlin? Daniel Brewer, the man he came together with twice in Istanbul then. So not, it doesn't really get much better for Tom Stevens, does it? But if he can just stay in this race, there's every chance he might be able to scrap a point or two out of it. But for Chris Checkered, big opportunity here for Red Archer. Right Kilk running in the final points paying position at the moment, and Checkered leading sort of not on merit necessarily, but this alternate strategy could work out very, very handsomely indeed for him if he can just extend long enough to sort of make the one-stop work out here, as now we see Matthew Williams about to easily clear Lalu on the fresh hard tyres there.
So the net order should be Grankvist, Mounier, Frelick, Williams and Martin, I believe. Williams a big gainer in that first stint of the race. We're now 20 laps in. This is where the one-stoppers will start to think about pitting, because I reckon the hard tyres can go to the end from here. But anyway, Chris Checkered currently leading, 7 seconds out in front. I think he's done a really good job. Obviously, he's not in the net lead because he'll have to make a pit stop. He's losing a lot of time to Jan Grankvist at this point in time, but I do think that he'll still come out in the points-paying positions. Wopke Hoekstra making a pit stop as well. As for that Stevens and Brewer incident in Turkey, no penalties came out of that, interestingly. I really thought that we'd see something to do with that in the DC announcements, the disciplinary committee announcements at the end of the race. There is Stevens just getting past Wopke Hoekstra on pit exit. But yeah, nothing came of that. So whether they sorted that out behind the scenes or whether they just didn't think it was worth reporting, I guess it was one of the two. But whatever the case, it was a little surprising to see both drivers get away with a double dose of contact, as Chris Checkered pits and Jan Grankvist will go back to the lead.
Yeah, definitely one stop, because that's the hard.
And Schluter's dropping. There's a yellow flag and Schluter's dropping. I think there may have been an incident for one of the Edge Esports drivers.
Well, that's a 3 non-point scores in a row then for Mark Schluter. I think 2 retirements in a row, come to think of it as well. So that is absolutely gutting for the German there, whatever happened, because Edge, I think, put so much work in and have had so little reward at this phase of the season. And especially after the way he ended last season with that amazing victory in Brazil, it's a shame to see a driver just lose all of their confidence in such a horrible manner as well, because Schluter at least was on course to get something out of today. And he just lost it so early on through Degner 1, and he's just a passenger through the gravel at that point.
Yeah, it's the same accident that Jarl Tyne had, of course, his second accident. And unfortunately, that's taken both of them out of the race. So only 21 cars remaining in this particular race, and we're not even half the way through. Yeah, like you say, absolutely gutting start to the year for Mark Schluter. Neither he nor Edge Esports have scored points at any of the races so far this year. And if I can say one thing to Mark, it would be just do not give up, because he's better than that and he knows it, and he can win races by the end of the year if he keeps his head up. Now, the reason you said ooh is because Loic Meunier is within DRS range of Jan Grankvist. He's really gained in this stint. He's got out, he's half a second behind him now, and he's getting closer and closer, shows himself to the mirrors. Ed, it's race on.
Indeed it is. So Grankvist on 7-lap old tyres, Meunier and Frelick on 5-lap old tyres. That's a 2-lap delta in favour of Meunier and Frelick at this moment. And Meunier knows how quick Simon Frelick is, knows that if he's going to make this move on Grankvist, he needs to do it sharpish, because Frelick will not hesitate to sort of take over from him and potentially disappear off into the distance. We saw him do it in FS1 so many times. So Loic, as the sort of Malcolm in the middle figure here, knows he cannot afford to slip up. Even using the DRS, that Super Venturi is still really handy in a straight line. So it's going to be difficult to clear here, and you can tell as well the exit of the hairpin there was not brilliant from the Spark, and Simon Frelick is all over the back of him. So Grankvist, this is just a case of holding on at this phase of the race, because he's just been caught 10th by 10th by these really two quick young drivers behind him.
Indeed he is. It's 3 for the lead at this point in the race, and Grankvist still holding firm from Loic Meunier and Shimon Frelick. Matthew Williams is 4th, then it's Carlos Martin, Alessandro Maggio, Alex Laho, Thomas Schwock, Pascal Pollens and Sergio Fletcher. The remaining points, well, and we're swapping positions here. Road to Formula have swapped positions, with Thomas Schwock going ahead of Alex Laho now. So Wook starting to hunt down the cars ahead. And I wonder why that is, because... and Meunier takes the lead! My goodness! Well, we weren't expecting that to happen right now, but presumably Meunier dumped his push to pass, and Loic Meunier has taken the lead of the race on the road. This is nothing to do with the strategy or the pit schedule or anything like that. He leads the race by having passed Jan Grankvist down towards turn 1.
Now, could it be, Caitlin, that Grankvist is trying to save tyres to get to the end without having to do another stop, but Meunier and Frelick are just trying to get track position at this phase? So here we go. Meunier, he pulled a really good gap to Frelick just before 130R, and then had a great exit from Casio Triangle, dumped his push to pass, as you say. DRS did the rest of the job, and so too did Loic Meunier then. So important move. Spark now lead for the second race in a row over Jan Grankvist, but we saw Grankvist keep things in reserve for the final stages in Turkey. Is he doing the same here, or is Loic Meunier genuinely putting Grankvist in a vulnerable position here? Because Loic, surely he's just going to try and check out now.
Yeah, I think so, and he's already got 1 second, so will he actually get DRS, Jan Grankvist? He'll have to wait until the detection zone, which is on the exit of the Casio Triangle, and if he's within 1 second, he'll get DRS. I don't think he was. I don't think he was within a second as they crossed the line. He was not. So Meunier can now start to stretch his legs. Grankvist is under pressure from Shimon Frelick, who won't be close enough for a move into turn 1. There's only 1 DRS zone on this track, so DRS not as powerful here as it would be at some other tracks, as it was in Turkey last time out. Or especially at Australia, of course, where there's 4 DRS zones. And there's a move, and Pascal Pollens is 8th now. He passes Alex Laho, who really has struggled these last couple of laps. I think ever since the pit stage, he's just not been as good. I reckon maybe the hard tyres just don't suit him or his setup, Ed.
Yeah, he looks so confident with that late charge in qualifying, as Handgraf comes out the pits just behind Jukka-Pekka Laulu. So you've got to think that Stein, with some clever strategy and a good move here, might be able to get a few points for the Green Stripes team, yet to get off the board, but Handgraf had so many strong races last season where he beat the odds. Not the most fancy driver, but an engineering graduate in the Netherlands, looking to build a big career for himself, not just in GPV, but in real-world motorsports as well. As we cut back to the Grankvist-Moynier battle. Grankvist has fought back a little bit here. He's matching Moynier's first sector, and the second sector was actually quicker. He was dipping into the 39-second bracket, 39.9, whereas Moynier 4/10 slower then, and Frelick 40.2 in the middle sector there as well. So Simon Frelick is actually really struggling to keep our two leaders in sight at the present moment. And now it is slowly turning into a two-way fight between Moynier and Grankvist. But don't rule out Williams, Martin and Maggio. They are lapping in. Williams is in the 130.9s with no DRS at all in front of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Williams, matching the lap times of Frelick, if he might be able to eke his way to the back of this battle and become a big factor here that they've got to worry about.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. Matthew Williams is currently a little way off, good few seconds, but as you say, it's there's a long way to go, and these three at the front, if they do start battling hard, they may well hold themselves up and drop back a little further. Williams seemed to gain in that last sector as well, out through 200R and towards the spoon curve they go. Mounier, Grankvist and Frelick through this very tricky double left-hander. You can see the curbs on the outside. That curb on the exit of the corner has been fixed. There was a little bit of a bug that caused cars to launch when they touched it that was discovered in practice, and I believe that has been patched. I'm pretty sure it has been, because I haven't seen any cars launch off there over the course of the race weekend. Right, Kilt currently the biggest gainer in terms of positions, up 16 positions from the very back of the grid. And obviously, unfortunately, the biggest losers have been the 9 DNFs that we've seen so far this race. Some of them through their own fault, some of them unfortunately innocent victims. Some of them, such as Sven Schubert, of course, just a complete random disconnection, which happens sometimes. It's basically the sim racing equivalent of a real-world engine failure. Speaking of engines, I wonder who's using a fresh engine for today. That was something we didn't update you on for this particular engine for the next race, or at least to save a little bit of life in one of their used engines. Looks to be about a 50-50 split in terms of which teams use a used engine and which teams have used a brand new engine. I have noticed though, both TH coming into this round were over 50% used, so I wonder if that explains their poor qualifying performance, and unfortunately even damage limitation ended up being impossible for them due to that collision on the opening lap. But Ed, as we reach the halfway point in this race, we're going back to the start-finish straight. This is the DRS zone, and this is where Grankvist and Frelick have their best chance of challenging Mounier.
Yeah, Frelick in particular taking a load of curb, even a brief spark as the front wing hit the ground there on the TOP car. But yeah, Grankvist using the DRS to sort of claw back to the rear of Moynier, but Moynier, I think, has cottoned on to what Grankvist was trying to do, and he is starting to save a bit of tyres as well. Knows it's going to be difficult to escape up the road as now Fletcher gets himself past Alex Laho. So Laho, as you said earlier, really starting to struggle at this phase of the race on the harder compounder tyre. Really does not like it compared to the softs, and yeah, Fletcher on the mediums is able to get through. So I wonder if Road to Formula might consider pitting Alex Laho for a second stop before the end, even if those around him try and get to the end on the one stop. We know a couple of drivers, particularly Chris Shepard, is definitely going to try and do this. Milnet goes off and is just about able to hold on to that one there, but that was all four wheels into the gravel there just ahead of Chris Shepard. So Shepard putting pressure on one HRT while he's got the other breathing down his neck then. So great to see Chris Shepard in the thick of the action here, which is we didn't really see a whole lot of that last season when he drove for Edge, did we? He's really regained. He's looking a lot more like the old Chris Shepard, the one that we saw put in so many strong drives. As I say that, he goes very wide through Spoon and has a big moment of his own. So it looks like everybody on the nail-biting edge of falling off the track completely today.
Yeah, I know that commentator's curse has been a big thing today, but I do think Chris Shepard will be in the top 10 by the end of this. Apologies in advance. Thank you to Rodrigo Carvalho for letting me know that my microphone is cutting out sometimes. I believe that's when I'm clicking away from Discord. So if I keep that particular tab maximized, hopefully it should be back to normal. And yeah, please do let me know if it happens again. Meanwhile, there's a nice long chain of cars here. 9th place, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, so a good 5 cars involved in this one, and all for points paying positions. If you're new to GPVWC, it's not like Formula 1 where only the top 10 score points. In this championship, up to 15 cars score points, because that makes it a bit fairer for the larger grid. We have 30 cars here as opposed to the 20 that you get in the real world Grand Prix racing. And so it's kind of the same for both, where the top half of the field score points, and that's where you have to end up aiming for at the end of the race. iPhone in the YouTube chat says, in Valle, I believe. Well, Valle having a decent race so far, aren't they? Both cars in the top 10, one of the brand new teams to this series. Maggio P6, Fletcher P7. Of course, Spark is also a new team to the series, and Mounier's leading the thing, so it's a good day for the rookie team, Zed.
Yeah, we seem to say that every season a new team comes in and sort of blows us away, wasn't it? Last season it was TOP that took a number of wins, wasn't it? As we see Jan still all over the back of Mounier then. Fantastic, actually, to see Mounier having been bested by Grankvist last time out at Istanbul, has learnt from that encounter at a different circuit, playing much more to his strengths in defence. There's Milnek, picks off Alex Laho for 10th then. So Laho is now into the clutches of a Chris Shepard nearly here as well. It's a crucial move for Milnek to sort of escape the never-ending claws of Chris Shepard that just seem to be extending and extending on those significantly fresher tyres than everybody else. If Shepard sets another personal best first sector with the aid of DRS. Meanwhile, Matthew Williams, by the way, is pulled out of DRS range of Carlos Martin, 1.4 seconds, and he's only about 2.5 seconds now behind Simon Frelick, so he's nearly half the gap from the 4 seconds it was earlier. So yeah, Williams, who did pit the lap after Frelick and Mounier, is on the freshest tyres of our top 4. So yeah, Grankvist, if his pace really starts to plummet, and it hasn't so far, the DRS is really helping him stay in touch with Mounier, actually significantly faster than him at the moment in terms of overall lap time. But if that train sort of stays the way it is, Williams is just going to keep closing in continuously.
Yeah, and he might well bring Carlos Martin with him as well. Martin not within DRS range of Matthew Williams, but he's been sticking with him just a second and a half off for a little while now. And yeah, could end up getting involved in that lead scrap, and maybe even helping out his teammate Shimon Frelick somehow, but we'll have to wait and see. Chris Shepard now on the back of Alex Laho. Laho, who continues to drop down. He was right at the pointy end earlier in the day, but those hard tyres just have not worked out for him. Shepard goes to the inside. That's brave to hold it around the outside into turn 1 for Alex Laho, but he's made a mistake now. He has a big twitch, goes onto the grass, and Stefan Ruhl is up into 12th position. It's going worse and worse now for Alex Laho.
Yeah, the problem is he's committed to that hard tyre strategy, isn't he? So he's just going to continue losing time. There was a vain attempt to sort of limit the damage by hanging around the outside, but as you say, it immediately backfired because Ruhl just gratefully nipped up the inside into 12th. As another huge snap from Laho. He looks like he's just absolutely fighting that car, and I would say neither the car nor driver is winning this battle at the present moment, Caitlin. And now even Tom Stevens, a lap down, is going to try and unlap himself from Laho. Such are the struggles for the second of the 2 Road to Formulas at the moment, with Vac still running in P7, about 6 tenths ahead of Pascal Polenz in the edge, still trying to get Edge's first points of the season, with Fletcher within 7 tenths as well. So there's a good fight for 7th going on, but the lead fight is even closer then between Moynier, Grankvist, and Frelick. But as you say earlier, Caitlin, it's sort of a stalemate between the trio, isn't it? And that's just allowing Matthew Williams, who's now 2.2 seconds behind, just continuing to match or even beat their lap times. Grankvist, though, it's interesting because I thought we might see Jan maybe change strategy, but he doesn't seem to have panicked. He's just kept the course, kept Moynier in sight, and that well could be enough to sort of salvage victory from the jaws of defeat here. But Moynier has been extremely impressive today.
Indeed he has. Like Moynier continuing to lead. And can he go one better? Of course, scored his first podium in the last race at the Turkish Grand Prix and his first pole position. I guess the logical next step would be to bag his first race victory, and Suzuka is a good place to do that. I've also noticed the car that was about to pass Alex Laho there was Tom Stevens, who's a lap down from him, so you don't have to worry about that in terms of the actual order. But it shows you just how badly things have gone for Tom Stevens. We're really not used to seeing him in last position in a Grand Prix. But continuing on, just in case there are more DNFs that lead to him being able to score a podium. Not a podium, sorry. That's very optimistic. A point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ahead would have to drop out for that to happen for Tom. But yeah, second year in a row where Tom has had a big crash at Suzuka. Luckily, this time he was able to at least walk away from it, and he's not given up. But yeah, this is really turning into a bit of a nightmare start to the season. Apart from Tom's second place in Melbourne, it's been slim pickings. They've not really had fortune on their side, have they? So yeah, it's going to take quite a lot of hard work for them to stop a rerun of last season where Grankvist just ran away with it up front. And then by the time they caught him at the end of the season, Jan just needed to pick up the points where they were left on the table, and he'd done enough for that title then. As we now look at Matthew Williams, the gap almost exactly 2 seconds, and he's just keeping Carlos Martin out of DRS range at the present moment. That's the frustrating thing for Matthew Williams, is he can see them all just in front of him. They're so near yet so far, aren't they? The lead three, and alone his fourth podium. There's potentially a win on the table here if he can somehow use the pace that he has to jump the three of them. But I think that might be a big ask for Matthew Williams here. Of course, yet to take that first victory. His best finish still those 3 third positions that he has from this race last year, Istanbul last time out, and Brazil 2021, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if you can still hear me, Ed. Unfortunately, my Discord seems to be buffering, so I think you're going to have to take over for a second. I might try to switch to a different browser.
Right then. Anyway, Tom Stevens, interestingly enough, sets the fastest first sector of the race, as it looks like I'm buffering now as well, which is disastrous. No. So, we are flying blind, ladies and gents. Hopefully you can still see things on the stream. I am seeing an exclamation mark next to Caitlin's icon on Discord. As looks like YouTube is still running, so hopefully oh dear, well, maybe you can't hear us, ladies and gents, but we can still hear each other, and isn't that the important thing at the end of the day? So anyway, Pascal Polens and Sergio Fletcher pit with 20 laps to go, and Moynier, Grankvist, Frelick, Williams, Martin, Maggio, Vac, Milnek, Rult,
bit of a recap when the broadcast comes back. Okay, do we have audio? All right, welcome back. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. As you can see, we had a few issues with Discord, and unfortunately, you missed our commentary for the last, well, I don't know how long it was, 10, 15 minutes. It all tends to blur together when we're not yapping our heads off, but there you go. It's a four-way scrap for the lead that we rejoin back into Grankvist, Meunier, Frelick, and Williams. It does look that they're going to the end of the race on these tyres. We weren't quite sure earlier on whether they were going to or not, but it looks as if they will, and that's going to set us up with a real barnstormer of a fight towards the end. Drivers trying to improve their way through the order on a softer compound tyre include Alessandro Maggio, who made 2 pit stops. Also, since we've gone, unfortunately, we've had 2 more DNFs. Sergio Fletcher had an accident on the exit of the second Degner. You saw that on the stream. And Stefan Ruhl pulled up in the pit lane. And I'm a little bit confused by that because he was still quite close to the points. So I'm not sure why he would feel the need to give up from where he was. But anyway, just 19 cars remaining. We've had 11 retirements from the race so far. It's been a real race of attrition, and it means that just finishing the race is valuable, even if you are, say, Tom Stevens, who was involved in that first lap incident, because who knows, if there's a couple more collisions, you could well find yourself inside the points. Meanwhile, we're back onto the start-finish straight. Loic Meunier trying to line up Jan Grankvist. That's where he passed him earlier on in the race. Grankvist, of course, has re-passed Meunier in exactly the same place since we lost the broadcast earlier on. Ed, one thing I was wondering is I do hope that none of these drivers were really reliant on their Discord channels. I know some of them are in VCs with spotters or engineers. I hope none of them were really reliant on that in terms of their strategy and in terms of seeing where other cars are around them, because it seems that Discord cut out for absolutely everyone, not just us. And as that tends to be the go-to app that most of these drivers use, I'm wondering if that's going to affect anyone in particular.
Yeah, I think the drivers using TeamSpeak are laughing at us now with their private servers there, but justifiably so perhaps. But but anyway, it must be said, Grankvist really bided his time, has actually driven this race brilliantly. We sadly, it was down during that moment, but it was a brilliant move to use DRS and get up the inside with Meunier. There was a little bit of contact, but just enough room left, as he says. So Grankvist now back in the lead, and he is still not quite able to break DRS of Meunier. And in these last 10 laps, this is going to be nail-biting stuff now, as not only has he got Meunier to deal with, but Frelick's still there as well, still putting the pressure on Williams within 7/10 of Simon Frelick. And then Carlos Martin is now setting personal best first sectors as well, in a bid to get into this fight as well. He is lapping quicker than all 4 ahead of him as well.
I'm just seeing the YouTube chat actually as we came back. Kai Kera saying hi, Penny. I've also been looking at Mateusz Pishan, who was basically taking over our jobs during the break, doing all of that text chatter in the Discord. And yeah, thanks for that, Matthias. That was very entertaining, and I'm glad that we still had the YouTube chat up and running, so we could talk to people as that was happening and just keep everyone updated and keep being updated by what they could see. McGorgy says no one will be too reliant on comms. Not much is happening. That does make sense. Sergio Fletcher says nice P7 throw from me, thumbs up. That's gotta hurt. That really has gotta hurt, and I'm so sorry to have seen that. That, of course, now puts Pascal Pollens back into the top 10, and Steinhanger is fighting. That's a big mistake from Shimon Frelick. Frelick runs wide at Spoon. He has to be careful on the rejoin. He can't rejoin into the side of Williams. They're side by side up the hill. If he can duck back into the slipstream, he might have a chance of getting back into that one, into the Casio triangle. Williams feeling the need to defend into 130R. That's unusual. And Williams does get the move done. So a costly mistake there from Shimon Frelick puts him back into 4th position. Williams is up into the podium just as he was at the last race, Ed. Now we're onto the start-finish straight again. Frelick will have another chance, goes to the inside. I think Williams knows he can't fend him off. and luckily for Frelick, that won't cost him a podium position in the long run. However, it has cost him 2 seconds to Mounier and Grankvist up ahead. It's a two-way fight for the lead, as opposed to the four-way fight that we had before.
Yeah, I think Frelick is starting to chew through the front tyres because they just washed out and understeered through Spoon, didn't they? And you can tell he is just starting to fall back now as a result of those mistakes are off of DRS from Mounier and away from that lead fight. So potentially it was also getting very, very close to the back of Mounier, was causing him to wash out. But I think also the inexperience and high tyre wear that we saw in Istanbul has come back to bite him as well. So Frelick, who was in the mix for the podium, has now got to fight to stay on it because Matthew Williams will be very keen to get 2 podiums in a row. Frelick's still looking for that first podium in Super League, isn't he? And he's going to fight every step of the way to make sure he doesn't slip up again. But meanwhile, Mounier, that first win, so near yet so far, but Grankvist has got him covered beat for beat across this Suzuka International Circuit. So it's going to take something special here for Mounier to win this one, but Grankvist determined to get 3 in a row for the second time in his career.
Yeah, that would be quite something, and it would really cement his challenge for the championship. To be honest, I wouldn't count Loic Mounier out at this point in time. Yes, he doesn't have the experience of Jan Grankvist, but considering he's done 2 races in GPVWC Super League this year, and he looks set to finish on the podium in both of them, who knows what he can achieve for the rest of the season. Spark, of course, one of the new teams in the championship, and Panzer's out. Robin Panzer, who was catching Stein Handgraf for P15, who was challenging Stein Handgraf, has retired from the race. So we now only have 18 cars remaining in the race.
Oh, it's Degner 1 again, isn't it?
It's going to be the Degners. We're going to see a replay of it now, and he loses it, and he loops it around. That's a big slide, and he goes into the wall on the outside. That's a bit of the wall we haven't seen hit yet today. I think every bit of the barrier has been tested in the Degners at different points of it now, inside and outside. And unfortunately, Robin Panzer is the latest victim.
Yeah, that looked like classic Panzer because he lost it very early on. Instead of panicking, overreacting, he tried to sort of lazily keep the slide going, and unfortunately, the momentum almost didn't die down quickly enough. And by the time he hit the wall, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to lose the wheel here. Oh dear." And yeah, that's all she wrote, unfortunately, from Suzuka. And Panzer is our 12th retirement then, so just 18 drivers left. And there's every chance that Green Stripes could get their first point, that Maggio could get his first points of the season as well, and the Edge could get their first points. So that's 3 big unexpected stories from today. I think Vincent Gutt also on for his first points of the season now, about 8 seconds up the road from Handgraf in that Green Stripes then. So Brewer, Stevens, and Hoekstra, of those who hit trouble early on, are the only ones still going now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh goodness, you can see how many places they've gained there. And for the likes of Gutt, Handgraf, Brewer, and Hoekstra, most of that is just through attrition. But that's legitimate, you know? If you keep running, then you deserve every point you get, because you did better than the drivers who did not make it to the flag. Of course, not everyone can say it was their own fault that they retired from the race. Drivers like Sven Schubert, for example, that was a complete unlucky disconnection, and who knows where he would be at this point in the race had he carried on. And there have been a couple of other disconnections as well, I think. But anyway, even so, if you make it to the end, you've still gone further than the drivers who haven't, and you still deserve the points that you score for that. Matthew Williams here, still on the back of Shimon Frelick, and they're not really gaining on the top 2 as they might have hoped to after Frelick's mistake just a couple of laps ago. And Williams, I think, really lost out by being repassed by Frelick, because it meant he couldn't get after Loic Mounier, which he may have had the pace to do otherwise. Onto the start-finish straight we go once again. Usually 6, maybe 5 or 6 tenths per second is the buffer, where you have to be within that to challenge someone into turn 1. There's another yellow flag, and someone's off on the outside. Now, who was that? And it's Dan Brewer. So Dan Brewer will drop a lap down in that one. He's had a big spin, and we're going to see a replay of just how this happened, Ed. And Lahou's, well, we're seeing a replay of Lahou.
Oh, very close to the curb at Degner 1, but Seems okay. Whoa! Big 360-degree spin. Laho did well, actually, to save that one, but that shows you the depth of his struggles on the hard tire, doesn't it? And this is what befell poor Daniel Brewer. I think he's just going to... Is he just going to dip a wheel in the grass or just kick too much speed into turn one?
Well, it's the curb that gets him. Do you think it's concentration at this point, Ed? Do you think the drivers are just a little mentally fatigued?
I think also having lost so much time at the start, Brewer is just a bit demoralized, and he's decided to sort of call it a day. So just 17 runners left. So all but 2 drivers are going to score points. Frustratingly for Tom Stevens and Wopke Hoekstra, isn't it? They're the only 2, and they're a lap down actually on the lead, of course. So it's a 54 seconds between Hoekstra and his teammate in the final points position. Stevens, though, having to let, I think there's that one of the Road to Formulas through. So he's on the soft tyres. Could well set fastest lap of the race, but with 5 laps to go. But for all the good that it's going to do him, because he's got to let everyone on the lead lap through. Meanwhile, Moynier, Frelick and Williams all set personal best laps of the race in their pursuit of Jan Grankvist. But with 4 laps to go, Grankvist just looks comfortable, just looks in command, and there's nothing Moynier can do at the moment.
Yeah, I do think Stevens potentially had some lasting damage from his opening lap crash, because he really wasn't able to do anything with his race after that. Even when he found himself with Wopke Hoekstra after the pit stop, Hoekstra actually passed him on the road, I think, and was able to pull away, and you would not expect that from Tom Stevens, with all due respect to Wopke Hoekstra himself. But yeah, he's continued on nonetheless, just to see if he can do anything, but he would need another multi-car collision if he was able to, or if he's going to be able to score points today. It's extremely unlikely. And isn't it crazy that only 17 cars are going to finish as it stands, and Tom Stevens is still not going to score any points? That would have been unthinkable at the start of the day, and that's just the reality that we're living in. But because that's the kind of crazy race that Suzuka and GPVWC can throw up. Now here's Loic Mounier. If he can line up Grankvist out of the last few corners, he might have a chance, because he's passed him down the straight before, and like I said, 5 or 6 tenths per second tends to be the magical buffer. It's about 7 tenths as he goes onto the straight, so not sure if I don't think he'll be close enough this time, but that was fairly close. You can see by the end of the straight he's under 3 tenths of a second back. And,
yeah, trouble here is, Caitlin, they're all starting to run out of push to pass, aren't they, at this phase? So anybody that saved it might well be able to profit here. Maggio, by the way, who of course pit for fresh tyres now, easily picks off. He was catching Chris Shepherd at 7-8 tenths a lap there, and that's a very straightforward move for 8th position. And Maggio, who so desperately needs these points, is yet to get a race finish in Super League to his name this season for Valet. That's important for him now to keep Thomas Vack in sight, maybe get up to P7, P6 by the end if he can.
But of course, if Loic Mounier has saved any of his push to pass, we could be in for a last lap showdown, which would be phenomenal stuff. Tom Stevens has set the fastest lap of the race now, so he's still got some pace left in the car at least, and he'll have that title to show for himself.
He took 5 seconds out of Hoekstra on that lap alone.
Well, he would do. Hoekstra is just trying to get it to the end. Stevens is pushing for that fastest lap. But yeah, anyway. We have 4 laps to go, including the one that we're on. So basically 3.5 laps to go. And Mounier less than half a second behind Grankvist in these splits. And this is as they're coming out onto the straight. Okay, 6 tenths behind. And that advantage will multiply the closer he gets. He's not going to be close enough, but you see him showing himself to the mirrors of Grankvist once again. If he exits that final corner within 6 tenths of a second, within maybe 5 tenths of a second of Grankvist, he will absolutely go past him into turn 1. Jan cannot let that happen. He's just got to absolutely nail his acceleration out of that chicane every time. And if he does manage to fall within that 6 tenths of a second buffer, he's got to defend like crazy up into turn 1.
Yeah, so the thing is, first sector, they're pretty even. Moynier's a little bit faster, and it's similar story in the final sector, but in the middle sector, Grankvist is a tenth quicker, and that's what's stopping Loic from getting close enough. In fact, Frelick is in danger of getting back into DRS range, such as the job he's done to fend off Matthew Williams. And Williams is probably feeling, if only he'd been able to stick that move on Simon Frelick, he'd be right behind Loic Mounier right now, potentially. But ifs and buts, it's all a bit irrelevant and academic at the moment. Martin is starting to fall away from the top 4 battle now, so clearly he is starting to run out of tyres too. But Mounier, he's running out of laps here. Is this going to come down to a last lap do or die attempt from Loic, or is he going to be content to be second once again as he gets well over the curb? I think the answer to that last question is a solid no.
This could still be a chance, you know, as they get onto the straight. And you see him now as he has the DRS open. He has the slipstream. He's getting closer. He will go for it into turn 1. Grankvist doesn't cover it off. Mounier goes through and off. Grankvist is off. He runs wide.
Oh.
And he rejoins just in front of Frelick. So he doesn't lose a place from that. But he will lose DRS from Mounier. Now, there wasn't contact between the two of them. That was completely fair from Loic Mounier. And he leads the race with 1 to go. That was tight from Maggio, trying to find a way past Thomas Vogt, the 2023 winner of this race. But Ed, what a move from Mounier on the penultimate lap of the race. Surely he's got it now.
You would think so, yes. Really unfortunately, I got a message about the championship standings being updated immediately after the race. As I was looking at that, Mounier made the move and I was sort of panicking to get back to look at it. But yeah, I'm just seeing a replay of it now. And it was sort of a rerun of the move Grankvist did earlier on Mounier. But this time, Grankvist, of course, sort of ended up understeering wide because his tyres are a lot more worn at this phase of the race, I would say. So yeah, now he's got to fend off Frelick. But yeah, that was really, really assertive from Loic Mounier. And he is for every step of the way to acute the pressure on Grankvist, and he only needed one opportunity and he absolutely made it happen. 1 lap to go, and this could be a historic first win for Spark and Loic Mounier.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find out now how many races Mounier has actually done, because it really has not been
5 or
that
6,
many.
isn't it?
Yeah, about that. And I'm going to find out that exact stat, because this would be quite historic, as you say. There have been drivers in the past who have won their first or second GPWC Super League races, so it has been done before, but it is still quite an achievement every time it happens. And for a brand new team in just their 3rd race in Super League as well, this would be an amazing result from Spark. There are both cars in the points, of course, with Vincent Gutt in 14th position. Not quite the result that you would expect from a team who have a race victory, but I think Mounier is the real exception in this. This is just Mounier's 6th Grand Prix.
Yeah, there we go.
started 4 races last year with a best result of 4th in Austria. He scored his first podium in Turkey this year. Of course, missed Australia due to a technical issue on the lead up to the race. But today he's got it absolutely spot on, and definitely expect to see more of Loic Mounier in GPWC this year. He could still be a championship contender. It is way too early for that. So for now, let's just cheer him home and celebrate this fantastic achievement as Frelick is trying to line up Grankvist for second, goes to the outside of the chicane on the last lap, forces Grankvist to cut the corner. They're going to come together on the last corner, and around the final turn, Loic Mounier becomes a GPVWC Super League race winner in just his 6th Grand Prix. That is amazing stuff, and for the 2nd race in a row, he is clearly the driver of the day. Jan Grankvist just held on to 2nd from Szymon Frelick at the end there, despite the contact. Frelick was 3rd, then Williams and Martin. Will run through the full order when we see it. But look how excited Loic Mounier is. He spins the car out. And so he should be excited, because that was a stellar drive. One of the best things that I have seen in GPWC Super League in the 7 years that I've been commentating it. You see him there being congratulated by Carlos Martin. And what a fantastic performance that was from Loic Mounier. In Turkey, I was warned by Carlos Martin, look out for Loic, he's going to be competitive today. And he was. He took the pole position, he took the podium. There was only one logical next step for Loic Mounier, and that was to go that extra step higher on the podium and win here in Japan. Ed Hunter, what do we make of that?
Well, I'm so happy to see him do that, because Loic always had the talent there, I say, as he plonks the front wing and decides to drive the hairpin backwards. But it doesn't matter now. The hard work's all been done. And of course, he messed up that lap in qualifying. The final sector there just wasn't quite enough. And that meant he started third when really, I think he had the potential to take a second pole in a row. But he is well and truly, as you say now, in this championship hunt. And Grankvist then very nearly overtaken by Frelick. Frelick trying to go around the outside at the Picasso triangle on the final lap was a little bit of a long shot. I think I am looking at the championship standings now. So it should be Grankvist 70 points, Loic Moynier 45, Simon Frelick 42, Matthew Williams 39, Carlos Martin 30, and then I think Vac and Stevens both on 26 then. So that really shows you. Anyway, Kalen, here's the final results.
So the final results are Loic Mounier winning his first GPVWC Super League race in just his 6th Grand Prix. Jan Grankvist is second, losing out on the penultimate lap of the race. What is it with Jan losing the Japanese Grand Prix late on? Shimon Frelick is third, and Matthew Williams is fourth. Then it's Carlos Martin, Maciej Winnick, Tomasz Vok, Alessandro Maggio, Chris Checkered, and Pascal Polens, who is 10th. As we move on to the second tile, Jakub Lalu does score points in 11th position. Riot Kilk does a good job from the back of the grid to climb up to 12th position. That's quite a climb up the order. Alex Laho unfortunately dropped all the way down to 13th with that big spin at the end, but he was already in dire straits, having just not gelled with that hard tyre. Vincent Gutt, P14, also scores points for Spark. Stein Hangraf gets what I think are his first points of the season, and they definitely are, because it's Greenstripe's first points of the season in 15th, just ahead of his lapped Greenstripe's teammate Wopke Hoekstra. And Tom Stevens, the unfortunate Tom Stevens, who did get the fastest lap but unfortunately was always out of contention after that first lap incident, has only come home in 17th position. And then 13 failures to finish, if I can do mathematics properly. Dan Brewer, Robin Panzer, Stefan Rohr, they all, well, with the exception of Rohr, all had accidents. Sergio Fletcher, Schluter, Schukes, Poom, Fischer, Schubert, Tyen, Quint, Single, and Fournier, all of them out, many of them in that first lap Schmozzle. And unfortunately, it was a little bit of a tough time for most of these drivers. I think we'll have some slightly disgruntled people in the voice chat afterwards, but I'm sure we'll also have just as many success stories, and hopefully we'll be able to interview those in just a few minutes' time, Ed.
Well, I think given Discord went down, I think we'll be grateful if we get anybody at this rate. We're lucky we still got each other, haven't we, Caitlin? But yeah, that was a really, really entertaining race. It was difficult to tell which way it was going to go, but realistically, it was always going to be between Grankvist and Moynier. I think Laho, with the tyre issues, even on the softs, he didn't look quite as comfortable as the leaders, did he? And I think Frelick, with that mistake at the end, he'll be ruining that because he knows there was at least a second position on the table there. But yeah, I think our top two were absolutely the standouts today. Moynier had to force the issue, had to make something happen, and he picked the right moment, didn't he? Grankvist held up to the pressure for so long, but even there was only so much he could take. So somebody had to stop Grankvist from making it 3 in the row for the second season in a row. And that somebody was Loic Moynier. And fantastic story. Definitely not going to be the last time we see Loic Moynier at the top of a Super League podium, I fear. Or no, not fear, I anticipate.
And Ed, we can now speak to our newest GPWC race winner. Let's change to the interview slide, because Loic Mounier joins us now. Loic, first of all, congratulations. How did you do it?
I wish I knew. Oh man, that was really tense. I probably lost 2 kilograms in sweat. I mean, I don't know. I had a great quali, a bottle pole, but you can always bottle pole. You know what ifs. In the race, we executed really well. Stayed with Jan in the lead DRS, and for a long time, we could swap positions with the hard tire, taking care of them or pushing them depending on the gaps. And I knew coming in the final laps who had worse traction than him. I would see in hairpins or chicanes he would gain half a tenth even on fresh tires to me, and I had fresher tires. So I knew that trying a move when we both have different tire phases is complicated, so I had to surprise him with something offset. And something offset was going for the lead in the penultimate lap, which sometimes you kind of don't do. And yeah, I don't know if he ran out the push to pass or if he wanted to slot in behind me for that penultimate lap. Took the leads, and I guess he ran off on my side. I definitely gave him enough room from my memory. I don't know if I caught him off guard or something, but huge props to him. He was amazing. You're really, really fast. He's scary. You made me work for it.
Yeah, don't worry, the move was totally fair, and I'm sure that Jan will agree with that because there was no contact and you didn't force him off. That was just a fantastic overtaking maneuver. Were you saving up push to pass at all for the last couple of laps?
I didn't use any, like I used maybe 10 seconds, 10% in the first 40 laps. I knew it was going to be a DRS, very long DRS race with some final moves or very short-lived action throughout the race in precise points. So yeah, I had like 90%, so 80% of my push to pass in the final laps. I could really go for it.
And Loic, we really haven't seen much of you in Super League yet. This is only your 6th Grand Prix, and you're a race winner already. What can we expect from you going forward from here? Do you have any goals and any tracks where we should look out for you as a real contender?
There's no French Grand Prix, so you can't do that.
No.
But I don't know. I guess I can just hope to carry on this form. See by the halfway point in the year where we stand. With second and right now first, it's one of the best starts I could ever hope for. You know, it's especially from where I come from. So yeah, I want to thank everyone that I'm working with, my engineer for the race, the group, my friends, everyone that congratulated me already. Thank you very much. And yeah.
Well, yes, congratulations, Loic. I'm going to hand over to the regular interviewer, Ed Hunter, to cover the rest of the interviews. But yeah, congrats, Loic. Ed, do you have anything to add for our newest Grand Prix winner?
Well, first off, Loic, congratulations. That was absolutely superb. Istanbul was very, very good, and you paid a very lovely tribute to your father, and you've just done one to your team, all at Spark Racing, you're a race engineer. And I guess Vincent can maybe be involved in that because he also held up his end and scored a couple of points to help in the team stable. But I just wanted to ask about the decision to overcut Grankvis by pitting 2 laps later for the harder tyre. Because do you think that made a big difference by the end? Because it looked like Jan was just starting to struggle just that little bit in those last couple of laps, and that just left the door open when you needed it.
Well, at that point in time when he pitted, we were looking at the gaps and it was pretty open. You wouldn't have to be worried about traffic, and since he pulled the trigger first, I would be undercutted anyway, so I would just go 1 lap longer, trying to create a virtual delta and an advantage for later on in the race. Now, I mentioned later in the race he had better traction anyway. I probably have to work on my wear a little bit. But,
well, you certainly got
the idea was a tire delta to have an advantage later in the race. It's a very long-term race.
Yeah, a long race, but it's also a long season as well. And after the disappointment of Australia, you've had a second and now a win. So you got to say, momentum has swung very much on your side. Like I think a lot of us, we sort of knew that one day I think you would succeed and win in Super League. We didn't think it would be quite this soon, and you've really learnt very, very quickly. But of course, you've been in this business long enough to know it's going to be swings and roundabouts, up and downs this season. So I believe you're on 45 points now, and Jan is on 70. So you've been able to break his winning streak Do you fancy starting one of your own, or do you think Saudi's going to be a much different scenario?
I'm winning every race this season.
Well, the last person to set, the last Frenchman who came up here and boasted about that, things are not working out too well for him. But I guess one Frenchman must win while the other must suffer. So
it's the French curse.
yes, okay. We'll talk to him. We'll see what he has to say later on. But anyway, like, congratulations. I know I'm happy for all the drivers when they do well, but you and me, we go back a few years, so I have to say it was very, very special to be there and to commentate on you winning. I know Discord went down for us about halfway through, so we didn't get to commentate on Jan overtaking you, which is probably, from your point of view, a relief. But other than that, we did get to cover most of the key moments of your race. So yeah, it was brilliant to be there.
I will await the race highlights video then.
Okay. Oh yeah, we'll have to voice over those bits where Discord went down. But anyway, thank you very much, Loic. Your first win in your 6th start in GPVWC Super League. Am I now correct in thinking you've won every tier apart from Super Lights?
I won.
You did one on the road in Super Lights as well.
I won on the road. It's always on the road.
A moral victory, I'm sure.
Yeah. Maybe next year I sign up 1 tier down, you know, just to clear the board.
Oh, it was just like Jake Dennehan when he didn't win at Spa, so he decided to do
Jake
FS1.
Dennehan is doing Jeddah FS2. Be scared.
Anyway, congratulations, Loic. I'm sure the celebrations from you and Spark are going to go long into the night. But well done. You've finally got a name on that winner's trophy, and I think you very much deserve to celebrate that one. That was an absolutely spellbinding drive.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So as we let our latest winner in Super League exit the commentary box, let's talk to the man who just missed out on making it 3 wins in a row, reigning champion Jan Grankvist. Hi Jan, welcome to the commentary box. We just talked to Loic, obviously, and he is delighted after taking that first victory, but obviously from yourself, it was so nearly 3 in a row. You so nearly replicated what you did last season, and it seemed to be a race of where you got it on pole position, you were leading at the front, you weren't quite able to escape because first Leho and then Moynier, once he got into the DRS, you just could not shake him. Midway through the race, you were able to get back past him when he had overtaken you, and then unfortunately with 2 laps to go, the move was made, and it could have been absolutely disastrous for you. You were just about able to save it with your cat-like reflexes and hold on to second position after that late assault from Simon Freilich in the last couple of corners. So certainly an eventful race. The championship lead is very much intact, 70 points. Loic is, I think, your closest challenger on 45 points. So that's about 35 behind, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, having missed out on the win, it's going to be a little bit of disappointment for you, I'm sure.
It looks like a bit of a curse-taken pole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time I take pole, I never seem to win. But no,
you technically did take pole in Australia, but obviously not in the actual quality.
yeah, I mean, yeah, technically I didn't. But yeah, either way, I was going to say big congrats to Loic. That was a fully deserved win from him, and well thought throughout the race, really. He did exactly the thing that I did for the past 2 rounds, learned brilliantly from the strategies, which was just keep behind the others and save your tyres, save whatever you can, and push to pass, and then just blast through the final few laps, and that's how you win a race in today's Super League. So yeah, that was just a really well executed strategy from Loic. From my part, I think I just pitted a bit too early. I don't know why I had to go for such a big undercut. Oh well, that's a lie. I know exactly why, which was I thought I could run away from them on the first stint, but yeah, I ended up burning my tires instead, and yeah, that cost me ultimately, because in the second stint, the overcut does allow for just a couple of tenths, if even a few hundredths, per lap on those slightly fresher tires, and that's the kind of advantage you need in this kind of a grid where everyone's within a few hundredths of each other. So that played out pretty well for Loic then, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result otherwise.
Oh, that's good to hear. What was your thoughts on Simon as a assault at the end, trying to go around the outside at the Casio triangle? Because it looked like there wasn't a whole lot of space to go around, and Simon wanted a bit more of it than was readily available.
Yeah, we actually briefly talked about it before I got moved in here. So yeah, I looked at it from the replay briefly, and I think we both agree that it's just a racing incident, really. And I mean, it wasn't really that big of an incident anyway. The thing was, Shimon, obviously really late on the brakes, had a really shallow line for the second apex, which then I guess he wasn't expecting just how much he was going to understeer. And I did leave enough space, I think, and I think Shimon also echoes that sentiment. And yeah, just a slight tangle there, but the outcome's the same.
All right, that's good to hear then. So hopefully it doesn't end in a steer's room acrimony, as so many other historic collisions at that corner have ended up in, it seems. So obviously, more great points for the championship, and you enter our fourth race of the season in Jeddah with a pretty big lead. It's also the scene of your first win in Super League last season then. So obviously, while you didn't come away with the win today, you limited the damage. You survived even on older tires. I think Loic was actually saying that the reason he pit later was because he knew he wasn't as good at tire saving as you were. So he seemed, while he was behind you for that middle chunk of the race, he did say that he learned a lot. And unfortunately, he then immediately used it against you. But going into Jeddah, do you still feel confident? Do you still feel on top? Or do you think Loic and the others are starting to close in?
Yeah, I still feel pretty confident. It's been quite a nice learning curve. It's been a pretty nice learning curve so far on how to race these cars this year, and I mean, it might seem very simple at the moment how to outsmart your opponent by staying behind in their DRS for most of the race, but you know what happens when everyone wants to stay behind each other's DRS is the great next question, which we might have to have a look at once we get into Jeddah.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be some drivers enjoying it more than others. Just a word on the Teams Championship, by the way. Super Venturi still in the lead on 82 points, and they're now 10 ahead of TOP Esports. So there's every chance that you and Zuckerberg, who still survived at the end of the race, got another 11th place, similar to what he scored in Istanbul, if memory serves as well. So on a day of attrition, both Super Venturi survive and get to the end and score in the really, really big points today. So certainly, in terms of the championship, it is looking pretty rosy so far.
It is indeed, and yeah, I'm always thankful for Lalo's contribution, not just on getting points in the race, but his practice is always valuable to us. And nicely done with a P11 when a lot of cars seem to not make it through in the first few laps, I heard.
Yeah, certainly, and I guess we haven't heard from any of them so far in the interview room, but I guess they might all start populating now that I've said that. But anyway,
sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming in to talk to us. Well done on three podiums in a row to start the season, and I have a feeling we can't get you off that thing because you just are glued to it, and I certainly don't think that's the last we've seen of you and Loic fighting each other for victory. So long may it continue. Thanks for putting on a great show for us today. Hard luck on not getting the victory, but still best of luck for the rest of the championship.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. See you next week. No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks time. Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm only just get back from holiday next week. So
either way, thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to us. You're very welcome, Jan. So, as our reigning champion leaves the commentary box, who should we talk to next but our third place finisher, Mr. Simon Frelick? So, we are now joined by Simon, who takes his first podium in GPVWC Super League. Simon, obviously your best result so far, but it so nearly was one better at the end. It felt like a lot of that race you made early progress past Maggio and a couple of others, and you were sort of biding your time in third position, weren't you? And then the moment came right near the end when Jan Grankvist was starting to struggle, and there was the side-by-side moment through the Casio triangle that didn't quite go in your favor. But nonetheless, a very, very strong result today, Simon. You got to feel satisfied with that.
Hi, Caitlin. And hi, Remco.
It's Ed here.
Yep. Is Caitlin not here then?
She likes to let me do this bit. She likes to talk to the winner, and then I get to do everyone else, I guess.
Okay. Well, it could have been one better at the end, but it could have been two better if I didn't bottle so much on lap 44. Yeah, the qualifying was not the greatest. I mean, my quali lap, it was pretty good. It was on pace to be top 3, but I messed up the chicane too much. I lost 2/10 there, so I ended up being P7, and I was not very happy with that. But I remember that Tom Stevens in Australia, he also didn't start that well, and he was using a lot of push to pass at the beginning to make up the positions, and that's pretty much what I did at the beginning. I got Matthew at the start, then past Maggio. Carlos was very nice to me. He let me.
And I saw that
willingly. Yeah. Then past Alex, and I got to the main group for the lead. Jan, Loic, and then it was me. For the most race, yeah, I was just sitting behind, being patient, because, like I said, I was using a lot of push to pass at the beginning. I couldn't really try anything after that. I was trying to keep my current push to pass levels for the final laps, so I can do some attacks. But yeah, like I mentioned, lap 44, Spoon, I carried too much speed. I went off the track and started going a little sideways. Matthew passed me, and then I repassed Matthew, but from then on I was 2 seconds behind the main two at the front, so I was...
And out of DRS as well.
Yeah, out of DRS. It is a lot easier to follow people than it is to push yourself. That's for sure. But yeah, the gap was staying at a constant 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I was trying to utilize some of my push to pass to try to catch up to them, but not use too much, so that Matthew did not just, does not just breeze past me at the end, because I have none. And yeah, I'm thankful Loic attacked Jan on the penultimate lap, not the final lap, because that gave me a chance to get on Jan's back and try that overtake at the end. But yeah, the tires were a bit done there. I carried a little bit too much speed on the outside. I understeered off, and I had a shallow line for the second part of the chicane, and Jan was just carrying a lot more speed on the outside, and we touched a little. I think it was on my it was a bit my fault, because Jan left me enough space. I was just understeering off a little, because, like I said, I was taking a shallow line, and yeah, it's a P3 at the end. I should be happy, but knowing what I threw away on lap 44, I think there could have been more from this.
Well, nevertheless, Simon, and we still got quite a long way to go in the season. Jeddah next up, Saudi Arabia, big slipstreamy circuit. Are you feeling confident for that? Of course, it's looking really good actually for yourself and TOP, because obviously you've gone fourth, and third so far in the races we've had. So you're third in the championship, I think about 2 or 3 points behind Loic, and then in the team stable, TOP are only about 10 points behind Super Venturi, so they've gained a lot of ground there. So you've got to say, along with Loic and Jan, you're one the other drivers that's really been gaining momentum the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, I'm really happy that my pace wasn't one-off. I'm happy that I'm able to carry the pace throughout these rounds. Even this round, I was not confident for this round, yet this was one of my best races this season. Well, one of it, there was 3 races, but it was better than Australia and better than Turkey. Yeah, I'm excited for Jeddah. I like Jeddah a lot. The only obstacle is the Easter holidays in between, because I will be going away to my family, so no practice for me on the weekend before the race. But I'll try to get more laps earlier to compensate.
Well, that's very, very diplomatic of you. I know you secretly, like me, you don't agree with the politics of Saudi Arabia and the brutal public executions. So that's the real reason you don't want to take part. But it's okay. It's only a virtual race. Nobody's actually died. Don't worry. But, but anyway, Simon. So, but yeah, you enjoy Easter, and I guess Owen McGorgy will figure out what the driver lineup will look like. But either way, best of luck for the rest of the season.
I'm not missing Jeddah.
Okay. It's just in terms of practice, right?
In terms of practice, Easter's 5 days before the race.
Oh, it is, okay.
So I will be there for the race. Yeah, I meant practice-wise, because I will be away for like 4 to 5 days, and yeah, like this is around the time where you practice the most. So yeah, I'll have to go around that.
Well, congratulations on the first podium, Simon. Thanks for coming to talk to us, and we hope there's more podiums to come for the rest of the season. So best of luck to yourself and the entire TOP team, and Carlos too, for that matter.
Yep, thank you.
So then, as Simon Frelick leaves the commentary box after getting his first podium, after he sounded a little disappointed that it didn't go better for him, in terms of that there was maybe that one mistake that cost him a chance of following Loic Mounier through and then challenging for victory. Nonetheless, a strong drive by him and all the drivers we got to talk to. It was probably the most happy interview room we've had in a long while, Caitlin. Yeah, a historic day for Loic Mounier. But in terms of the championship picture, Super Venturi is still very much on top.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. And also, sorry to Jimon that we didn't mention during the race that was his first podium in Super League. Unfortunately, it was a little overshadowed by Loic Mounier's first win in GPVWC Super League. But that does mean that out of the 3 races we've had this year, all 3 of them have featured a brand new person on the podium. So very good stuff. And I hope that unpredictability...
All 3 of them have featured Jan Grankvist.
Sorry?
And all 3 of them have featured Jan Grankvist as well.
That's very true. That's very true. Well, aside from that, I hope that the unpredictability keeps on giving. But anyway, thank you very much to everyone that we interviewed today. Thank you for coming into the commentary box. Thank you as well to our broadcast director. I need to remember how to speak again. Those interviews went on for so long. Our broadcast director, Remco de Zeeuw, for providing you with the sights and sounds that you have seen today. Mainly the sights, actually, because Remco kept the broadcast going when the Discord unfortunately decided to give up. Also, thank you to Ed Hunter, who has been alongside me all day long, and thank you to all of you for watching along and keeping us entertained in the YouTube chat. Not that we needed to be kept entertained, because my goodness, what a race we had. I personally will unfortunately not be at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I'm going away to do some training for a job. So unfortunately, that means that I will not be able to commentate the next race. But you will be left in the capable hands of Ed Hunter, and I believe Amir Oates is going to be joining you, Ed. So I hope you guys have fun, and I hope all of you in the chat join us for the next race. Keep the new commentator, whoever it is, I believe it is Amir, keep them company, and I'm sure you're going to have fun even in my absence. See you guys when I next see you. Goodbye.